Chapter 1637. When will the Battle of the Top 100 begin? The Baukai asked. It wanted to become famous as this was one of its life's dreams. The Battle of the Top 100 would begin when the treasure lands of the third stage closed completely. The Battle of the Top 100 would begin after many rounds of selections. The Top 100 would emerge as overlords of the Emperor Road. The day was approaching. It might take a few years if it was slow, a year if it was fast. In the third stage of the Emperor Road, the golden treasure lands would open one after another. The big shots from the outer realms would not be able to use secret treasures to investigate the situation of the secret realms. The golden waters naturally attracted attention. The commotion caused by the young fish fry was too great. However, a few days later, the outer realms were shaken. It swept across the entire undying heavenly domain, causing a huge uproar. The heavenly young master has died. This news was too shocking. It swept across the immortal sex like a raging sea. A heavenly connecting immortal physique, one of the top 3 on the emperor rankings, had died in the golden waters before he could even participate in the Battle of the Top 100. The entire world was shocked, and the great continents were in an uproar. It was completely a perilous situation. The older generation sucked in a breath of cold air, and the supreme beings of the various great sects were also shocked. Who would have thought that the heavenly connecting immortal young master would die? He was even killed by the young devil king, Su Yan, who was once alone on the emperor rankings. This lunatic! Many people trembled and roared, ruthless! Was the golden waters destroyed by him? More than a dozen saint children from the great sects died under his fist. Even the heavenly connecting immortal young master could not escape death. Is he not afraid of death? Does he not know whose disciple the heavenly connecting immortal young master is? Suddenly, the name of ruthless Su Yan spread across the great sect. The world could vaguely see Su Yan standing on the Emperor Road, looking down on the 8 desolates and 10 lands. He was looking down on the world with disdain. The storm raged and could not be calmed down. Even more shocking news swept across the world. The Wondrous Heaven sect was enraged. The sect master of the Wondrous Heaven sect roared crazily, shaking the entire great continent. The Wondrous Heaven saint child fell, crushed in a bloody manner. The Imperial Heaven Tao diagram also fell into Su Yan's hands. Of course, the most frightening thing was that the number 1 supreme being of the Xian people was trapped in the land of death. A series of bloody events were all related to Su Yan. It could be said that in a few short days, Su Yan of the Celestial Court had shocked the world and become an all-powerful expert of the younger generation. However, what made people suspicious was that old man Tong Tian was extremely quiet. He did not give any response, nor did he say anything. Could it be that he was not going to pursue the matter? This was not in line with Elder Tong Tian's temperament. He had always doted on the young master of Tong Tian, and the world did not know if he would let the matter rest. In any case, his silence was a little too much. The world didn't know that the big explosion of energy in the void a few days ago was related to old man Tongtian's lair. For this kind of big shot, his lair was very hidden, and the people outside didn't know. The entire Xian people were also very quiet. The Xian people did not give any response. The celestial race's sect master's face was cold. His son had been killed by Su Yan, and this debt had been suppressed in his heart. Now that Su Yan's ferocious aura was even stronger, his heart was unable to calm down, and cold killing intent leaked out continuously. The number 1 supreme being of the younger generation of our tribe is protected by the primogenitor's methods. He won't die prematurely. The number 1 supreme being of the Xian people said coldly, Su Yan of the Celestial Court. Even if an invincible expert of the younger generation really comes out, what's the use? He's just an ant in the future. He could not calm down, and there was a kind of fear, but also a kind of anticipation. This was because he had received a message from the primogenitor. The world was going to be in chaos, and a great era was coming to an end. The most terrifying chaotic times were coming. In these chaotic times, the lives of geniuses were as cheap as grass. No matter how talented you were, if you could not mature, you would be dust in these chaotic times, and no one would care about you. On the other hand, the Emperor Road was very quiet, and there were not many disturbances. Time flew by, and half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Su Yen and his group went to some treasure troves, wanting to dig out some enemies to kill. Unfortunately, Zhu Yonghua seemed to have evaporated from the world. Su Yen could not find any trace of him. This was because this person had the sky bamboo primogenitor's root. If he grew up in the future, there would be many variables. The ruthless ones are here. Let's go. A group of people appeared in a treasure trove, shaking heaven and earth. The experts of various tribes retreated, not wanting to fight with them. Even the descendants of the great sects chose to avoid them for the time being. This group was too shocking. No matter where they appeared, they would cause a storm. Even the reincarnated immortals were quite quiet, and there were no disturbances. Some people could not help but sigh. Was the whole world silent? Su Xianren and his group are too strong. To be precise, they obtained a super treasure trove, and their growth is frightening. Injie of various tribes had to avoid them for the time being, not wanting to have any conflicts with the celestial court. Some people smiled bitterly. Their ferocity was too great. The fall of the Skirich young master had caused a huge storm. He even dared to kill the personal disciple of the Skirich elder. The descendants of the great sects were nothing to him. Therefore, no one wanted to have any conflicts with him. Let's not talk about the reincarnated immortals of the underworld and the number one honorable of the Xian people. The Imperials, the sovereign sect, the Yong family, and even dozens of other great sects have strong descendants. They also have heavenly beasts and other heaven-defying beings. I think the competition for the top 100 will be extremely fierce in the future. Wrong. It's not the top 100, it's the ultimate competition for the top 10. It will be the most intense, and it will happen in the ultimate location. The current Emperor Road had begun to fall silent because of Su Yan's group. It could be said that they were overlooking the entire Emperor Road for a short period of time. In fact, Su Yan's main purpose of studying the various treasure troves was to find the whereabouts of the primordial tree. However, after an entire month, there were no clues at all. Fan Jian was a little distressed. The primordial tree was the most eye-catching place in the third stage. It was the most important place for the future of the Daluo Road. Why did it not appear? Could it have disappeared in the third stage of the Emperor Road? Yuan and the others went on their way in batches, preparing to train themselves. Su Yen decided to go into seclusion. He needed to sort out what he had learned so far, and it would probably take a long time for him to go into seclusion. We'll meet again. Fairy Zixia left with the 5 Daesong swords on her back. They all wanted to become experts in the future. The future competition for the top position in the Emperor Road would be extremely cruel. Time flew by, and time left no traces. Almost 2 years had passed. The third stage of the Emperor Road had become a magnificent battlefield. It was so big that it was boundless. It was like hundreds of continents combined to form a vast golden treasure trove. Every once in a while, there would be a shocking hero who would break through the encirclement. After 1,000,000 years, the Emperor Road opened once again. All the great treasure troves had nurtured amazing materials of creation. In recent years, many heroes had emerged. Experts from all walks of life had gathered in the third stage of the Emperor Road. Some people had a hunch that the top 100 competition was about to begin. Too many treasure troves had closed one after another. However, it was a pity that the primordial tree had disappeared without a trace. Could it be that this super creation would not appear again? Or had the primordial tree been taken away by someone else? Boom. In a certain pure land, the energy of heaven and earth was pure. Auspicious signs of the immortal Tao filled the sky. From this day onwards, Su Yan, who had been sitting cross-legged for almost 2 years, finally used a small amount of movement to cause the Pure Land to rumble. The mountains and the earth trembled violently. Baokai was shocked. Su Yan's aura was a little shocking. Before going into seclusion, Su Yan had swallowed a large amount of nirvana elixir. However, he had not transformed his battle body. He had been sorting out what he had learned in the nirvana elixir. During almost 2 years of seclusion, he had been very quiet and had not moved at all. At this moment, his aura was awakened. The dormant energy began to be replaced. The process was somewhat unbearable to look at. Crackle, crackle! Su Yan's body rumbled. The moment his qi and blood surged, it was as if a peerless immortal was awakening. His qi and blood were too rich and vigorous. However, his pores were spurting out a large amount of waste blood, along with some broken bones, flesh, and fur. What's going on? Yuan and the others had suddenly returned. Each of them was riddled with scars, but their spirits were shaken. The continuous battles had lasted for almost 2 years. The changes were also very great. Su Yan's nirvana elixir has taken effect. It's not a big deal. Baokai stood up. Su Yan was being reborn. His flesh shell seemed to be draped in a bloody robe. The smell of blood was pungent. The effect of the nirvana elixir was needless to say. Could make people reborn. Of course, Su Yan's battle body was too strong. It was almost impossible for him to completely transform even though he had swallowed a large amount of nirvana elixir. Even so, Su Yan had completed a large-scale transformation. His entire flesh shell was dazzling and blazing, like an eternal immortal furnace burning. His physical body's life force was monstrous, and it emitted a loud sound that could shatter mountains and split seas. Su Yan is getting stronger and stronger. Yuan and the others were shocked. They allowed Su Yan's terrifying aura to hit their flesh shell and comprehend Su Yan's strength. Every energy wave was filled with earth-shattering power, shaking their bodies. There was no doubt that Su Yan had made great progress during this transformation. He had reached the 6th firmament of the true immortal state. Dong! Su Yan's aura suddenly became violent. His hair flew wildly and shook the universe. In an instant, his aura surged countless times. It was as if he had turned into a god of war born from the heavens. Heaven, earth, rivers, and mountains were illuminated and a magnificent Dharma image appeared. It was as if he was sitting cross-legged in the sea of stars, overlooking the past, present, and future. There was also the sound of rolling scriptures that cut through the sky. It was as if all scriptures were resonating. Su Yan's body seemed to have turned into the origin of life. His energy had turned into order and rules. He was opening up the universe in the midst of chaos. The order of scriptures bloomed with every move he made, knocking down the chaos and opening up an invincible great path that belonged to him. The scene of heaven and earth collapsing, the chaos collapsing, and all things appearing. This was an extremely terrifying process. Su Yan's path of immortality was appearing. There was also an immortal sun god residing in the chaos, chanting the mother scriptures of heaven and earth. The scriptures were vast, and the path of immortality was vast. Su Yan's aura was becoming more and more shocking. There was a great power that could shake heaven and earth. His divine might was so great that people couldn't help but want to bow down and worship him. The terrifying aura rushed towards them. Yuan and the others were greatly shaken. They felt as if they were shouldering the weight of the universe and couldn't breathe. Su Yan had already cultivated the initial scripture to the point where the furnace fire was pure. As he released his aura, there was even a faint manifestation of a boundless grand aura. Was he already researching the future of the Daluo Road? I wonder how strong Su Yan will be after he awakens. Tai Rooster said with anticipation, I saw the reincarnation physique a few days ago. He has become stronger. He should have obtained more ultimate reincarnation elixirs. Also, the number 1 supreme of the Xian people is still alive. I'm worried that he will survive and become even more ridiculous. Even the bamboo sunflower of the sky bamboo lineage has appeared several times in the past few months. Tai Rooster said many things. The competition for the top 100 was about to begin. All the geniuses of the world were rising, and the reincarnation physiques were just a part of it. The path of the Emperor was very long. The top 100, the top 10, and even the supreme of the monarch rankings. What about the reincarnation elixirs? Bao Kai asked. Yin Jun Hao had already opened his mouth. He was tortured so badly that he had to give him a quick death. Before he died, this Yin Jun Hao had cursed Bao Kai for being a scoundrel. Bao Kai had given him a quick death. The news has already spread. The outside world is probably in an uproar. Yuan sneered and said, "Who wouldn't be jealous of the ultimate elixirs? Do you think Big Brother will come back after knowing about this?" Boom. At this moment, Su Yan's body whistled fiercely, spewing out all kinds of terrifying radiance. It was as if 10,000 gods and demons had passed through Su Yan's flesh shell and appeared out of nowhere. Su Yan roared towards the sky. His black hair fluttered in the wind. His ancient physique was glowing. His potential was rumbling. Suddenly, he felt like he was a broken sand that was about to be reconstructed. My body is buried in 10,000 bodies. Merge, reconstruct. Su Yan's eyes were like heavenly blades. His essence, qi, and spirit were powerful. His flesh shell rumbled as it glowed. It was as if it was about to break apart. It was as if endless chains had been broken, and his body was about to be reconstructed to its strongest state. Chapter 1638. Su Yan had stepped into the immortal realm. His life essence had completely transformed, and he had evolved into the immortal golden body. As his cultivation deepened, Su Yan gradually realized that his constitution was ever-changing. He could transform into other supreme treasured bodies, and even the most powerful treasured body had appeared before. All of this was attributed to his constitution, and also to the Supreme Beginning Sutra. Ever since Su Yan stepped into the true immortal realm, the Beginning Sutra had evolved into a sutra order. The strongest potential of Su Yan's constitution had finally been released. After 2 years of enlightenment, Su Yan had further perfected the Beginning Sutra. His primordial spirit was also extremely powerful. From this moment onwards, he released the potential of his constitution to his heart's content. It was as if thousands of gods and devils had rushed into his flesh shell. Then, his blood and qi surged into the heavens, forming a terrifying spectacle. Heavens, what's that? It was a terrifying sight. Even the sky had been severed and transformed into Su Yan's great Tao time and space. Groups of devils danced wildly, and the scene was monstrous. Terrifying figures appeared one after another. Some were blurry and some were mysterious, but all of them were extremely terrifying. It was as if they had crossed the river of time and arrived in this world with the terrifying pressure of time. The unimaginable scene in the sky surged violently, and roars split the sky. The heavens exploded, and the stars in the sky trembled. They were all stunned by the scene of the gods and devils breaking out of the cage. However, the tens of thousands of gods and devils struggled fiercely as if they wanted to break free and transform into powerful war gods one after another. Su Yan, be careful. Yuan was shocked. He realized that Su Yan's constitution was too powerful. It was as if he was going to revive in another way and kill Su Yan. Bao Kai gasped. What kind of phenomenon was this? It was unheard of. This was the terrifying scene of Su Yan being born in his flesh shell. It was also like a real world of gods and devils. The atmosphere was violent and filled with supreme killing power. Su Yan's body trembled violently. It was so powerful that he almost couldn't stand steadily and was about to collapse. Roar! Su Yan faced the sky and roared. His loose hair danced in the wind, and his cold eyes were able to capture one's soul. He was like a supreme fiend god that ruled over the heavens. His flesh shell howled, and the brilliant radiance of the great Tao appeared along with the vast chanting of sutras. It doesn't matter. Su Yan's initial scripture has already been cultivated to this stage, producing the most powerful scripture order that can suppress everything. Tai Rooster said, "Is this the strongest physique in the world? I'm looking forward to it." The entire sky was filled with the sound of scriptures that shook the heavens and the earth. It was vast and peerless. Su Yan's body transformed into a carrier of scriptures that flowed with resplendent radiance. It also caused the phenomena that filled the sky to distort as everything was about to return to the origin, to return to the primal chaos. Su Yan's precious appearance was solemn and dignified. His flesh was indestructible as he chanted the immortal sound of the great Tao, filling his great spirit with the power to suppress everything. This was the might of a supreme expert, and it surged like a vast ocean, shaking the world. The phenomena that filled the sky were twisting and turning into a giant whirlpool where gods and demons were dancing chaotically. It occupied Su Yan's surroundings and began to revolve. From this moment on, 3,000 gods and demons appeared and surrounded Su Yan, setting him off like a supreme god of war. Following his loud roars, the heaven and earth revolved, the sun and the moon were destroyed, and the entire world began to tremble. Su Yan had changed. It was as if the universe was blooming, encompassing the entire world and covering the terrifying phenomena that filled the sky. He wanted to include all the illusions of the battle physiques in his flesh and create an invincible body. Boom! This world collapsed with endless cracks. The rare Pure Land in the outside world was declared to have come to an end. Earth and rocks rolled and dust filled the sky. Su Yan stood tall in the middle, his majestic figure flowing with brilliant radiance. His aura was astonishing, but upon closer inspection, one would find that Su Yan's body was trembling slightly. It was as if the end of the universe had arrived inside his body. The sky full of gods and demons turned into runes and imprinted themselves on Su Yan's body. They wanted to fuse with his blood and bones to forge the strongest physique. But the difficulty was too great. Su Yan wanted to break through everything. He wanted to fuse all of his physical strength together with the power of the Origin Sutra. Only then would it be more suitable for the path of the Origin Sutra. In the end, it would return to the primal chaos and return to himself. But this step was a bit too big, causing Su Yan's body to shake violently. Some cracks even appeared on the surface of his body. Yuan and the others were worried that Su Yan's situation wasn't too good. His body was sprinkled with blood, and he was like a god on the verge of withering. He was emitting waves of ferocious aura that made people feel suffocated and uncomfortable. "Suppress for me." Su Yan clenched his fists and let out a low roar. The primordial spirit in his sea of consciousness shone and roared out waves of Mother Sutra characters. It was as if the stars in the sky were smashing down and cooperating with his body to refine it. Gotcha! Suddenly, cracks appeared on Su Yan's body. It was so serious that he was about to be dismembered. But he was very calm and didn't stop. He could feel that the sky was filled with divine and demonic runes refining his body. On the path of success, Su Yan's aura was becoming extremely world-shocking. There was also an ancient and terrifying heaven-burying aura pervading the air. His constitution seemed to be able to bury everything. But at the same time, once it was activated, he could obtain everything and obtain the strongest power. Ah! Su Yan let out a long roar. The stronger his body became, the more his qi and blood dried up. It was as if his entire person was undergoing a different kind of awakening. He needed vast amounts of heaven and earth energy to replenish and complete the path of great transformation. Bao Kai and the others saw through the clues and spat out their life essence to help Su Yan complete his evolution. It was just that the amount of energy Su Yan needed was too vast. The divine energy in this shattered little world had dried up. The mountain rocks had been reduced to a wasteland without any energy substance. It had already become an empty shell. If one were to observe from the outside world, they would see that the vast rivers and mountains were collapsing, the trees were withering, and the stars in the sky were drying up. Yuan and the others had suffered heavy losses. Their bodies were deteriorating, and they had lost large amounts of life essence. But the help they could provide to Su Yan was too limited and couldn't be of much help. What's this freak doing? The amount of energy he's absorbing is too frightening. Baokai was frightened. The world was heading toward death and destruction. Was he going to devour all energy? Body nurturing art. Unknowingly, Su Yan was using the body nurturing art to seize heaven and earth essence to help him evolve his body. But this world was in such a state of ruin that it couldn't satisfy Su Yan. It could only be said that it was a pity. Su Yan was also startled awake. Back then, his elder brother had imparted the body nurturing art to him. Could it be that he had foreseen this day? What happened to you just now? Yuan asked worriedly. Su Yan's qi and blood had dried up. His body looked very dilapidated, as if he had suffered internal injuries. He had already stopped the fusion, and this path could only be cut short. My injuries are nothing much. Su Yan's eyes were like lightning. Without any pity, he said, if I want to evolve, I need too much energy. The immortal Tao stone can't satisfy me. What should I do? No wonder the successors of the immortal sects orthodoxies view the life essence evolution liquid as the strongest liquid. Iron Rooster laughed bitterly. Su Yan, if you had the rank 8 life essence evolution liquid now, you wouldn't have to worry about this. You could complete the evolution in one go. But even if the Flame Emperor organization gave everything they had, it would be difficult to gather a furnace of this liquid. Evolution, Su Yan murmured. It seemed like the true immortal realm could really undergo a special evolution. It wasn't just him. It said that the formula for the immortal body liquid has been gathered. But it will take a long time to refine it. Yuan said, Su Yan, wait a little longer. After 1 or 2 years, you will definitely be able to refine the rank 8 immortal body liquid. Su Yan wasn't sure if the rank 8 immortal body liquid could satisfy him. He needed a huge amount of energy to complete the strongest evolution. Once he stepped into this stage, Su Yan's body and physique would become one. This would be his strongest state. Only by standing at this stage could he break through to the Guan Daluo realm. Otherwise, it would be a waste of his physique. As for the rank 8 life essence evolution liquid, Su Yan didn't dare to think about it. This thing could only be gathered by the flourishing immortal sects orthodoxies after a long time. The simplest and most violent way, Baokai said fiercely. Think of a way to break through the heavenly furnace and take out the wealth of the Xian people's #1 sovereign. Then, you will have everything. The earth immortal fruit alone will be enough to satisfy you. Su Yan couldn't help but nod. Baokai was right. He had a detailed understanding of the earth immortal tree. The reason why this supreme treasure tree was called the earth immortal tree was because it had absorbed the essence of the earth over a long period of time. The earth immortal fruit was actually the essence of the earth. It was too suitable for the current Su Yan. Yuan's chest rose and fell violently. This was once the most precious tree of the celestial court. Now it was the most precious tree of the Xian people. Let's go. Su Yan set off immediately. The most important thing now was to solve his own problem. The Golden Ocean region hadn't closed yet. The Xian people's #1 sovereign was still in the heavenly furnace. However, Su Yan was disappointed when he came here again. The heavenly furnace didn't change at all. The Xian people's #1 sovereign was still alive. It was impossible to break through this place. However, it was also impossible for the Xian people's #1 sovereign to escape. The Emperor's Road has endless opportunities. You will find one that suits you. Yuan said. There are also opportunities in the top 100 competition. It's said that it's a material for enlightenment. It's different from the second stage. Su Yan said, I'm now at the 6th heaven of the true immortal realm. I have to stand before the peak of the true immortal realm and solve my own problem. He sighed and looked towards the eternal heavenly Sunday. Unfortunately, the path had disappeared. Could it be that the eternal heavenly sun had closed? Su Yan left the Golden Ocean region and inquired about some information in some regions. The matter of the elixir of reincarnation had caused a huge commotion. The situation in the outside world was very tense. A super war could happen at any time. Seeing that Su Yan had a lot on his mind, Yuan frowned and said, Su Yan, you can do whatever you want in the Emperor's Road. However, in the outside world, we're not qualified to debut. I'd like to go out and take a look. Yuan strongly objected to Su Yan's answer. If Su Yan's whereabouts were discovered, it would be a terrifying matter. He would be hunted down by super experts all over the world. He had killed too many enemies in the Emperor's Road, and all of them involved immortal orthodoxies. Who would let him go? Don't worry. I know what I'm doing, Su Yan said calmly. If Big Brother goes, I'm wondering if I can really take the elixir of reincarnation with me. But I'm different. Su Yan had 2 supreme treasures, the 9 continents heaven cauldron and the heaven-opening writing brush. He was not qualified to unleash his full power, but Big Brother could. If he could meet Big Brother Prehistoric, Su Yan could give him his 2 most powerful supreme treasures. Yuan had to think carefully when it came to Big Brother Prehistoric. The Emperor's Road would end sooner or later, and they would leave sooner or later. What about after that? Without Big Brother Prehistoric, would they be able to suppress the immortal orthodoxies? The Emperor's Road competition was cruel. There were too many people all over the world who wanted to get rid of Su Yan. Don't hesitate. Let's go, Baokai said. The top 100 competition won't start for now. It seems like the primordial tree won't come out either. If we stay here and wait, we'll just be wasting time. Su Yan nodded. Yuan and the others wanted to go too, but Su Yan rejected them. He and Baokai were enough. Even if they could not help, it would be easier for them to retreat. Just as Su Yan decided to leave, far away in the 10,000 tribe battlefield, a huge crack seemed to extend out from a certain realm. A dignified and peerless woman who seemed to have walked out from a mythical kingdom walked out step by step. Her skin was as white as snow, and her black hair draped over her shoulders. She was like a holy moon that illuminated the universe. How could it be her? Many of the Sky Bamboo's disciples were left behind to guard this area. They found it hard to believe that the woman sent in by the young Devil King had walked out from the crack. Chapter 1639. Bamboo Moon's clothes fluttered in the wind, her beauty unmatched in her generation. After several years of seclusion, Su Yan was already at the true immortal realm. His snow-white skin was like the divine moon, surrounded by the radiance of the stars and moonlight. Bamboo Moon's steps were light as she walked out of the primogenitor's space. She looked like a dream, like a fairy from the Moon Palace descending into the mortal world. She caused the heavens, earth, rivers, and mountains to pale in comparison. It's her. Many experts from the Sky Bamboo lineage had gathered here. Before Zhu Yanghua left, he had said that Bamboo Moon was likely still alive. He had placed them in charge of guarding this place. If she came out of seclusion, they were to immediately suppress her. Now, Bamboo Moon had truly appeared out of nowhere. Her temperament and appearance momentarily stunned the experts of the Sky Bamboo lineage. This woman was too breathtaking. She was like a divine moon hanging high in the 9 heavens, so beautiful that it took one's breath away. Attack! In an instant, a true immortal realm elder roared and waved a large banner. The moment it began to dance, the boundless blood-red territory was instantly filled with array marks that filled the sky. Layer after layer, they were densely packed together. This was the activation of a world-shocking killing array. It sealed off the surrounding 10,000 miles. Dense runes of the great Tao soared into the air. The moment they burned, they surged with a terrifying killing power. At the same time, dozens of nearby guards erupted with power. Each of them grasped a killing weapon or activated a great supernatural ability. They covered the heavens and earth as they furiously chopped down at Bamboo Moon. The world-shocking killing array was on the verge of erupting. The energy ripples it formed were extremely vast. This was a scene of mountains collapsing and the earth splitting apart. Everything within 10,000 miles was about to be turned into a land of destruction. Even the stunning woman standing at the center would perish along with it. But Bamboo Moon was very calm. She stood between the heavens and earth, untainted by a speck of dust. She was holy and peerless, carrying with her an otherworldly beauty. Her clothes fluttered as her delicate body faintly released terrifying fluctuations. Divine light overflowed into the heavens, illuminating the entire killing array. Her bright eyes scanned the experts that were attacking her one after another, as well as the great killing formation that was suppressing her with its murderous intent. 1. Bamboo Moon flung her sleeves. This seemingly ordinary strike actually contained an unimaginable strength. The entire world changed, as if another vast projection was pressing down from the outside. Boom! The heavens split apart, producing countless large cracks. Immediately after, the earth collapsed, enormous black holes appearing one after another. The experts of the Sky Bamboo lineage were terrified. The entire space-time had been severed, and it was as if a great killing weapon had been tossed down from the heavens. It was reborn from destruction and grew in the sea of stars. Vaguely, there was the aura of heaven opening blooming. A terrifying bamboo descended from the heavens. It was especially majestic as it took root in the sea of stars. Bamboo leaves supported the great stars of the universe as they rumbled and rotated. In that instant, the bamboo hacked down horizontally, multicolored light filling the sky, covering the entire world, majestic and boundless. Boom! The killing formation power that filled the skies all exploded, unable to stop this bamboo's destructive power. It could easily tear apart the heavens, directly hacking over, smashing towards the body of a true immortal. The true immortal was terrified and he used a secret treasure to block the attack. In the end, the moment they collided, they all shattered apart. When the bamboo struck his body, his entire body was torn apart. Even his soul trembled and collapsed. He felt despair and disbelief. What was this? He felt that this woman was the most powerful descendant of the Sky Bamboo lineage. The silver bamboo was not big. It was only 3 feet tall, but it was like a supreme killing weapon. Strands of source chi leaked out, destroying everything as it swept through the enemies here. A large group of experts cried out miserably. They could not withstand the silver bamboo's supreme killing power. This was a divine object nourished by a pool of the world's source liquid. Its value was unimaginable. It was equivalent to Bamboo Moon's natal killing weapon. It was equivalent to his natal ability. Once it was activated, its aura was boundlessly terrifying. No, spare me. The Sky Bamboo experts who were still alive were terrified. They were no match for her at all. Could it be that she had unrivaled battle prowess among her peers? Bamboo Moon's clothes were not stained with blood. She walked among the shattered mountains and rivers, her eyes scanning the cultivators who were paralyzed on the ground. She was not a soft-hearted person. She had experienced too much in the past, let alone the harm that Bamboo Moon had inflicted on her. Ah! A cultivator cried out miserably. His forehead cracked and his primordial spirit was suppressed. His memories began to shatter. Bamboo Moon's eyes stared at his shattered memories. She found something she wanted to know. A sweet smile appeared on her face, and her eyes were even brighter. Su Yen, my husband, her thoughts were like a tide. Bamboo Moon could not calm down. She could not wait to meet Su Yen. She wanted to share her experiences over the years with him. She had obtained information about Su Yen, one major event after another. Who did not know about this? This was a young honorable one who had been hailed as the most powerful honorable one in Emperor Road. He looked down on Emperor Road and was incredibly powerful. She was emotional. With a flick of her sleeve, she smashed the group of people into pieces. Their blood dyed half the sky red. Bamboo Moon took a deep breath and suppressed the emotions in her heart. She had more important and urgent matters to attend to. Since Su Yen was fine, she suppressed the longing in her heart. Suddenly, a ray of green light sputtered out from the cracked tunnel. It was as if a giant that had been hibernating since ancient times had come out. The entire region fell into a state of silence. Everyone was terrified. They did not know what was going on. They only felt that the supreme heavenly might had descended and swept across the land. The green light scattered and tore apart a corner of the path to heaven. A blurry figure could be vaguely seen in the middle of it. He left along the path to heaven. Bamboo Moon rose into the sky. Following the green divine light, she left along the path to heaven. She was going to return to the undying heavenly domain and the heavenly bamboo lineage. At the same time, in the third stage of the Emperor Road, Su Yen was about to leave. He forcefully opened the path to heaven and was ready to go back to the undying heavenly domain. Baokai, what were you mumbling about just now? Su Yen was curious. He left with Baokai so that they could look after each other on the way. Nothing. Baocai's big fat face was filled with a cunning smile. It was obvious that he was up to no good. I'm warning you. Our mission is to get the elixir of reincarnation from the underworld. I should be able to help with the heaven-opening writing brush with my mystic art. I can't care about anything else. Su Yen knew what Baokai was thinking. Before it left, it had been chatting with Enji for a long time. This guy must be going to the old man of Tongtian's lair. The old man of Tongtian must have been severely injured. He did not even respond to the death of the young master of Tongtian. However, this giant's lair was not something they could touch. Baokai said, "We'll play it by ear. You said that the elixir of reincarnation has caused such a big commotion. I'm guessing the old man of Tongtian will join in the fun. We should take the opportunity to sweep his lair. We'll definitely be able to return with a bountiful harvest and become tycoons." Becoming a powerhouse and a tycoon could be said to be Baocai's life dream. Su Yen did not know whether to laugh or cry. Although Baokai had figured out the coordinates of the old man of Tongtian's lair, according to his cowardly personality, he would not think that way when the time came. Actually, I think it's meaningless to sweep the old man of Tongtian's lair. It's better to dig out the Xian people's earth immortal tree. Su Yan's words made Baocai's blood boil. He grinned and said, "That's a good idea. It's very powerful. I fully support it. Hurry up and finish your plan. Tell me everything. You really dare to support it?" Su Yen was speechless. "You're not afraid of death, but I am. Maybe one day, when Zhu Xing becomes a high-ranking Xian people, there will be some hope. Or, when you and I become almighty immortals, we can take the risk and give it a try." Boom! Baokai was about to speak when a green light suddenly struck. It was quite terrifying and frightening. Baokai screamed. His skin and bones were in pain from the light passing by. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Su Yen also staggered. His heart was full of shock. What kind of aura was that? Who is it? Baokai was so angry that his face turned green. He fell to the ground like a dog. Was he too unlucky? Su Yen opened his third eye and looked. A blurry green light was quickly moving away from them. But when he saw a woman as bright and eye-catching as the divine moon in the green light, he lost control of his emotions and shouted, "It's my wife." "What are you bragging about?" Baokai got up and shook his fur. He scolded, "Is your wife that powerful? Don't brag too much. She'll turn around and beat you up." "It's true. It's Bamboo Moon. chase after her. Su Yen was surprised and happy at the same time. His words were like a clap of thunder, awakening Bao Kai. It let out a series of wolf howls. F*ck, a fresh flower stuck on top of cow dung, my northern dipper fairy. Hum! Bao Cai's body also quickly enlarged. A terrifying true dragon aura flowed out of its flesh and shook open a space-time path. Dragon in the sky! Bao Cai's aura was violent. It was like a real dragon. It soared into the sky and carried Su Yen on its back as it started to chase. Faster! Su Yan's heart was in turmoil. Bamboo Moon had come out of seclusion and was even preparing to go outside. What kind of opportunity did she get in the place where the sky bamboo ancestor fell? That green light was too shocking. Bao Kai used all its strength, but it still couldn't close the distance. It could only get farther and farther away. Hurry up and stop it. It's a fat beast. It can be boiled into a pot of tonic soup. Suddenly, on the space-time path, one after another, space-time light curtains rose from the ground and blocked the Bao Cai's path. A group of hunters who had been squatting on the space-time path all year round came out in group. They waved their maces and brandished their swords and spears. They were like a group of bandits crossing the border and blocked the Tai Bao Cai's path. F*ck. Bao Kai was about to explode. It let out a low roar. How dare you offend the King of Hell? How dare you disrespect the beast god? Have you eaten the courage of your ancestors? The roar was fierce and tore through the layers of space-time light curtains. A rolling energy storm came down and hit the group of bandits. Blood flowed out of their mouths and noses. They were dizzy and their bodies were trembling. This group of people's minds were stiff. Their heads were buzzing. The arrogant giant panda was fine. The key was the figure sitting on its back. It was like the sovereign of heaven and earth. Its eyes were terrifying. Plop! The group of bandits knelt on the ground and trembled. Spare us, Demon King. We have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Some people were so scared that they were about to pee. They were really unlucky to have robbed the young Demon King. Spare us, Ancestral Master. Someone cried and knelt on the ground. Su Yen was confused. What Ancestral Master? Bao Cai's face fell. Didn't they see the beast god? Chapter 1640. The existence of hunters on the path to heaven was nothing new. Many orthodoxies were transporting resources back to the undying heavenly region, and they had to be wary of hunters along the way. In recent years, there had also been bloody incidents where powerful orthodoxies were robbed. After all, cultivation in the true immortal realm was too slow. Every time one stepped into a new realm, it would take up to 100 years. However, if one had access to a large amount of resources, it would be a completely different story. The group of hunters blocking Su Yan's path was considered strong, but who would have thought that they would encounter a demon king like Su Yan? In recent years, their circle had become popular, and that was to pay respects to the young Devil King before hunting, who asked him to steal the top resources of the heavenly bamboo lineage and loot the resources of the various great mystic realms of the immortal clan. Even the strange stone that gave birth to the Mother Aura was intercepted and taken away halfway. In short, he was still alive and kicking. They felt that Su Yan was too lucky. Su Yan's growth history was frightening. Even a series of resources were earned with blood and sweat. Therefore, in their line of work, many of them regarded Su Yan as their ancestor and revered him greatly. The experts of the various orthodoxies despised the experts in this line of work, but to them, money came quickly. Su Yan was in a hurry and did not argue with them. The ancestor is indeed the ancestor. He doesn't care about our petty profits. Otherwise, we would be in big trouble. We'll be lucky if we're left with a pair of underpants. These people's legs were trembling, and they were still in shock. Someone suggested, "We've climbed out of the gates of hell. I suggest we celebrate. We won't be so lucky next time." I'm more surprised that the young Devil King left the Emperor Road. What is he going to do? Someone was dumbfounded and then sighed, It's too chaotic out there. A group of terrifying existences are fighting for supremacy over the ultimate treasure medicine. The undying heavenly region is filled with terrifying creatures. Who can withstand it? The Emperor Road is still the safest. Even if he's crazy, he won't go to the extent of fighting for the rebirth medicine. He must have something to do and left. An older cultivator warned, "Keep what happened just now to yourself. We're lucky to be alive. If anyone dares to tell anyone about the young Devil King, don't blame me for being merciless." Without a doubt, this old man was their leader and the initiator of this small group. Even now, he was still in shock. "We can't catch up, the path to heaven was extremely grand." Bow. 2. "I don't think that's possible." Su Yen shook his head. It had only been a few years. Even if the ancestor of the sky bamboo lineage was still alive, it was impossible for him to cultivate Zhu to the zenith heaven realm in a short period of time. Even among the disciples of the ancestor there was a group of them who were in the true immortal realm. 2. How many years had it been since Bamboo Moon entered the space of the sky bamboo ancestor? Only one grand heavenly out of 10,000 peak true immortals. Hence, the grand heavenly realm was too difficult to break through. Not to mention, there were still paragons and even ancestor experts. Could it be that the sky bamboo ancestor is still alive? Su Yan's heart trembled. Suddenly, he said excitedly, "If that's the case, the sky bamboo ancestor is still alive. Now that she has returned to the undying heavenly domain, she must have returned to her tribe. This is big news. Let's go." "Bow!" Kaida cried out. He was extremely excited. Su Yen also wanted to go over and take a look to see if this was real. In any case, the bamboo moon must have left in a hurry. Su Yen felt that it was highly possible. The more he thought about it, the more excited he got. If the sky bamboo ancestor was still alive, he might be able to rely on her power to snatch the rebirth medicine. That was because the sky bamboo ancestor was once the most powerful existence in the undying heavenly domain. According to the rumors, the sky bamboo ancestor was once a follower of the ancient celestial emperors. One could imagine her relationship with the celestial court. The sky bamboo ancestor had even participated in the final battle. If she really survived, Su Yen would be able to understand what happened in the final battle. The Emperor Road's final destination was Su Yan's target. That place was infinitely close to Su Yen now. Once the top 100 competition ended, the final destination would also be announced. It would be the most terrifying battlefield in the Emperor Road, and also the best place to cultivate. In fact, just as Su Yen was speculating, that green light had already rushed out of the Emperor Road, crossing one continent after another. Her speed was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. She was crossing continents. Wherever the green light shone, continents fell into fear. The people did not know what was happening. They felt that an invincible being was traveling, crossing continents from continent to continent. "Who's there?" The huge sky bamboo continent shook as the entire continent rumbled. Auspicious light shone everywhere, and the great Tao hummed as if congratulating the return of an invincible being. At the entrance of the sky bamboo mountain gate, a group of experts who were entrenched there looked as if they were facing a great enemy. "Who are you?" They felt that the woman who walked out from the holy light was extremely familiar, and they couldn't help but ask. Bamboo Moon did not say a word. The green light behind her was enough to suppress everything. It directly suppressed the group of experts guarding the mountain gate, and blasted open the mountain gate tunnel. The green light converged into a green path that headed toward the sky bamboo mountain gate. Bamboo Moon's steps were light and agile. She ascended the sky bamboo mountain gate with a supreme attitude. It was also equivalent to returning to her ancestral land. Recalling the dark days when she hid in Su Yen and his little secret residence, she sighed and felt a little sad. "Zhu Yao, I'm here." Bamboo Moon caught a familiar aura. She walked toward the main hall where Zhu Yao was and said calmly, "Is my sky bamboo dharma seed useful? I can see the entrance." On the path to heaven, Baocai's speed was extremely fast. Just as he was about to reach the entrance, his and Su Yan's aura changed. They concealed their previous energy waves, and their appearances changed quite a bit. Swish, swish. Two figures followed the path to heaven, left the Emperor Road, and rushed toward the undying heavenly domain. The moment they arrived at this world, Su Yan sharply noticed that the spiritual essence in this world was much thinner than in the Emperor Road. This showed how shocking the Emperor Road's environment was. At the same time, Su Yan and Baocai were shocked. This was because they sensed some shocking auras nearby. They were like dormant giant dragons that were spewing out terrifying vitality. Grand Heavenly Realm experts. Su Yan was shocked. He suddenly felt that he was extremely weak. This was not the Emperor Road, but the undying heavenly domain. Only Grand Heavenly Realm experts were qualified to dominate an area. Su Yan and Baocai were at one of the entrances of the Emperor Road. As soon as they appeared, they immediately attracted the attention of experts from all over the world. More than a dozen terrifying leaders were staring coldly at Baocai and Su Yan. Baocai opened its mouth and spat out a token. Only then did the group of Grand Heavenly Realm experts look away. Baocai was once a disciple of the Thousand Beasts sect. It was still an inheritance disciple of the Thousand Beasts sect. The Thousand Beasts sect was prosperous and powerful. The inheritance disciples of the sect were not to be underestimated. How impressive! If you're not an inheritance disciple of an immortal sect, you'll definitely be in danger. There were 10,000 entrances, and almost all of them were controlled by the immortal sections. If a cultivator with a weak background walked out of the Emperor Road in advance, he would probably encounter some danger. Even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Su Yan and Baocai obediently left in a hurry. "Hurry up!" Su Yan sent a voice transmission, "Someone's watching us. Let's leave quickly." Baocai shuddered. This place was most likely very far away from the Thousand Beasts sect. If an expert did not give them face, it was very likely that he would secretly attack them and take away the good things they obtained in the Emperor Road. The Emperor Road was full of opportunities, which made the old monsters in the outside world jealous. These young people were only true immortals. If some Grand Heavenly Realm experts were to secretly attack them, who knew how many people would suffer? How dare he rob us who are carrying the strongest ultimate treasures? How dare he act so recklessly? We'll find a chance to kill him, Baocai said fiercely. If the 9 continents' heavenly cauldrons were to be used, even a Grand Heavenly Realm expert would be killed. Su Yan's eyes were cold. Not only did he have the 9 continents' heavenly cauldrons, but he also had the Kuanping's corpse. If he was forced into a corner, Su Yan could temporarily activate the Kuanping's corpse with the Kuanping's divine power. He would definitely be able to kill a Grand Heavenly Realm expert. Baocai's speed was very fast. It traversed through time and space, changing its coordinates continuously. As they had just come out, they did not want to stir up trouble. They were worried that their identities would be exposed. He still caught up to us. Su Yan's eyes were cold. They had traversed for 2 hours and were already far away from the entrance. In the end, the other party still caught up to them. He had already caught sight of it. At the distant end of time and space, a terrifying giant hand was faintly discernible. It was densely covered in runes and laws. In an instant, it was so huge that it covered the sky and surged with boundless Grand Heavenly Realm pressure. It was definitely a Grand Heavenly Realm expert. Its aura had far surpassed that of a true immortal. It was vast and boundless. The giant hand was enough to cover millions of miles of time and space. It covered Su Yan and Baocai with a single hand. It seemed like it was going to suppress them in one move. Damn it, this old thing is too much. He's coveting our treasures. I think we should just kill him. Baokai let out a low growl. They were only 6th level true immortals. A single hand from a grand heavenly realm expert was enough to suffocate them. Their bodies were about to explode. It could not be helped. There was an insurmountable gap between them. Even if Su Yen gave it his all, it was impossible for him to stop a grand heavenly realm expert. The gap between their realms was too great. From this, it could be seen how boundless the divine might of a grand heavenly realm expert was. It was no wonder that in the immortal orthodoxies, they were hailed as primogenitors. Boom! All of a sudden, a vast aura swept over. It was unknown where it came from, but the entire magnificent continent was trembling violently. The sky also darkened in an instant, radiating boundless territory. What's this? Su Yan's heart trembled. The entire continent was trembling and wailing. How terrifying was this aura? Its influence was far-reaching. It was like a projection of another plane that suppressed the universe. Could it be that someone is coming to save us? Bao Kai was pleasantly surprised. They still didn't know which province they were in, but when this supreme aura scattered down, it was enough to collapse heaven and earth. If it evolved into a murderous order, perhaps the entire province would cease to exist. Chapter 1641. The prosperous continent trembled violently, and a tsunami of energy swept across the surrounding continents. The sleeping giant had come out of his seclusion, and a boundless aura swept across the entire undying heavenly domain. Heavenly Emperor. The expert who tried to suppress Su Yen with his giant hand was filled with fear, and his legs turned soft. He ran away, running away as fast as he could. Who would dare to fight under the protection of a primogenitor? Otherwise, it would lead to bloodshed. What a terrifying existence! Su Yan's heart shuddered, and he could vaguely see a figure crossing the river of time and space, heading towards the continent. It was like a supreme giant who had been sleeping for a long time, and it was returning from its slumber. It was a terrifying and ancient body, and the blood chi surged out of his pores, causing the heaven and earth to tremble and the sun and moon to cry. The Emperor's state trembled, and even the surrounding continents were resonating. What was the Emperor's state? It was the most ancient and prosperous continent in the undying heavenly domain, and it was also the foundation of the sovereign family. The sovereign family had a long history, and there were many young paragons in the sect. This race's primogenitor had lived for too long. Now that he had revived from his slumber, he stirred up a boundless and terrifying energy storm, becoming more and more powerful and world-shaking. In the end, over 100 great provinces were thrown into an uproar. The Heavenly Emperor has come back to life. Someone exclaimed in shock. He is a giant who has lived for a very long time. The Heavenly Emperor of the Sovereign Family had created the legends of the Sovereign Family, and he had influenced many eras of the universe. He was undoubtedly the Overlord of the undying heavenly domain. He was a living legend, and no one in the undying heavenly domain could compete with him. Even Su Yen was flabbergasted. This was an existence comparable to the ancestor of the immortal tribe. As they observed it from a close distance, the majestic figure seemed to have penetrated through the long river of time. The vitality it emitted was becoming more and more shocking. The entire Emperor's state was trembling, and the heaven and earth were giving birth to auspicious signs. The sovereign family cheered as it proved that their primogenitor was still alive. Without a doubt, it was a great shock to the sovereign family, and it was enough to shake the world. Boom! In the next moment the Emperor's state trembled violently, and although the ancient heavenly Emperor was a little blurry, as if he was standing in a distant era, he still waved his hand. What a terrifying old monster! Baotsai's hair stood on end. It felt as insignificant as an ant. The heavenly Emperor made his move. He waved a hand that was boundlessly vast and simply covered the entire imperial state. This was a boundlessly terrifying palm that seemed to have descended from the 9 heavens. It was steaming with crimson light and shattered the space in the outer realms, creating a terrifying black hole. Boom! A figure suddenly appeared in the pitch-black black hole. His life essence was exuberant, and he carried the chaotic heavenly bamboo on his back as he unleashed a monstrous attack. Heavens! Are the primogenitors fighting? Countless people trembled in fear. This was just a slight collision, and it couldn't be considered a life-and-death battle. Even so, the ground of the Emperor's state trembled violently. Countless large cracks appeared in the sky. Accompanied by a vast pressure, the world shook and the oceans shook. The world was almost destroyed. "It's Zhu Tian of the sky bamboo lineage," someone said in shock. "He actually became a primogenitor? Unbelievable! When did he cultivate to this level?" Su Yan's expression was cold. The sect master of the sky bamboo lineage had become a primogenitor. It was said that this was one of the most powerful disciples of the sky bamboo primogenitor. He had also lived for an extremely long time. He occupied the outer space, and his eyes were filled with primal chaos. The sky bamboo covered the sky and was filled with supreme laws. "The younger generation will surpass us in time." The heavenly emperor spoke. His words were like a great bell that shook heaven and earth. His tone was also very arrogant. Zhu Tian had stepped into the primogenitor realm and was on par with the heavenly emperor. It was just that this person was too powerful. His life aura had awakened once again. Although he was somewhat old, he still shook the world and suppressed Zhu Tian's might. Countless people couldn't hear it. They felt that their ears were deaf, or perhaps the world was too quiet. However, the heavenly emperor's resting place was terrifying. As his body trembled slightly, space and time collapsed. Moreover, a boundless aura flooded the outer space. This was an extreme aura that shocked everyone. That was because the great Tao of heaven and earth had disappeared, replaced by his aura. One had to know that this was the immortal heavenly domain. "I'm just passing by. I have no ill intentions." Zhu Tian didn't dare to be careless. He was just passing by and wanted to pay a visit to the underworld. The heavenly emperor didn't say anything. His body flashed and he disappeared, leaving behind a huge crack that couldn't be healed for a long time. Zhu Tian's face sank. His eyes emitted coldness. He was now the sect master of the sky bamboo primogenitor. He believed that in the future, he wouldn't be inferior to the strongest existence. He also left. His destination was the underworld. Of course, the primogenitor's aura awakened frequently in the immortal heavenly domain. It wasn't just here. Many great continents had supreme existences coming out of seclusion. All of this was because of the ultimate treasure. Who didn't want the reincarnation medicine? This item was enough to make primogenitor experts fight with their lives. Although the underworld was the strongest power in the immortal heavenly domain, the reincarnation medicine was enough for primogenitor experts to fight with their lives on the line. Those old monsters are all going to fight for the reincarnation medicine. Baokai felt a headache. Who would dare to step into the place where primogenitor experts were fighting? Not to mention true immortals, even the sect masters of the various races had to think carefully. If an accident happened, there would be nothing left of them. Su Yan sucked in a breath of cold air. They were the ones who leaked the information about the reincarnation medicine. The storm was a little scary. Su Yan asked for directions along the way and was even more troubled. They were in the Emperor continent. The Emperor continent is thousands of continents away from the sky bamboo continent. Su Yan smiled bitterly. It was too far. If they relied on crossing, it would take them hundreds of years to cross such a long distance. If an accident happened along the way, it would take even longer. Although there were super teleportation arrays that could cross continents, they were all in the hands of the immortal sections. It was too difficult for outsiders to use them. After all, they had to cross thousands of continents. I really want to take a look at the sky bamboo continent. Is Bamboo Moon there now? Su Yen murmured. He didn't know what was going on in the Sky Bamboo continent. In short, the sect master of the Sky Bamboo primogenitor had left the various races. The race lacked the strongest expert to oversee it. It would be difficult for them to have peace now. Back then, the Sky Bamboo continent had caused too much damage to Bamboo Moon. Whether it was Zhu Lihui or Zhu Yao, they wouldn't have a good ending. At this moment, the Sky Bamboo continent was in chaos. The ancestral land of the ancient races was in an uproar. Nothing like this had ever happened before. A strong enemy had invaded and forced their way into the Sky Bamboo continent. This was a humiliation to the entire race. Boom! The great path of azure Tao surged forward, covering the heavens, the earth, the rivers, and the mountains. It suppressed the universe and brought with it a great pressure that swept through the entire Sky Bamboo lineage. It made the cultivators of the Sky Bamboo lineage tremble and feel suffocated. Who dares to force their way into my territory? One after another, great ancestor powerhouses charged out from the secret mansions in various regions. Their divine might shook the heavens and the earth. Their cultivations were extremely powerful, and they were the pillars of the Sky Bamboo lineage. More than 10 of them charged out. One could imagine how great the commotion was. More than 10 patriarchs appeared in the sky. Treasures from various forbidden areas soared into the sky. Billions of killing orders surged out, causing the entire ancestral land of the Sky Bamboo continent to be filled with resplendent light. Heavens, what's happening? Billions of living beings in the Sky Bamboo continent were terrified. The ancestral land of the Sky Bamboo continent, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly awakened to its peak state. This made everyone in the outside world tremble. What was going on? This was the ancestral land of the Sky Bamboo continent. Even though Zhu Tian had left, this race was still glorious. The race's foundation was unfathomable. Now the ancestral land was spewing out endless destructive light, sealing off the sky and land. It seemed to be trapping a powerful enemy. Boom! In the ancestral land, billions of killing orders attacked, but they could not break through the green great Tao. The group of patriarchs was shocked. What kind of treasure was this? Could it be the strongest treasure? The green great Tao covered the sky and extended to the front of a large hall. They were stunned. This was Zhu Yao's hall. The person who came must be extremely powerful. However, Zhu Yao was only a true immortal. How did she offend such a big shot? Bamboo Moon followed the green great Tao step by step and drove to the front of the hall. Inside the hall, Zhu Yao was scared stiff. She left the Emperor Road because she was afraid that the young Devil King would target her. Su Yen and Bamboo Moon were very close. He must have known what happened to Bamboo Moon back then. The other party had beaten her up twice. There must be a third time and a fourth time. Su Yen was almost invincible in the Emperor Road now. Zhu Yao did not dare to wander in the Emperor Road. She could only return to her race. Who's there? Zhu Yao, who lived in fear all day, felt suffocated. Her heart was beating fast. The door of the hall was blasted open. A beautiful woman walked in. Her clothes fluttered in the wind, and her black hair fell over her shoulders. Her skin was as bright as the moon, and it emitted a holy light. There was also a silver bamboo behind her that was faintly discernible. It's you, Zhu Yao pointed at Bamboo Moon. Her eyes widened, and her delicate body trembled violently. She could not believe her eyes. She could not believe what she was seeing. This old woman, who she had tortured and humiliated, not only survived, but was also peerless and incomparable. How is this possible? Zhu Yao's eyes were red. Back then, she and Bamboo Moon stepped into the place where the Sky Bamboo progenitor fell. They thought that Bamboo Moon had fallen. Who would have thought that she would come out alive? Her strength was unfathomable. Is my Sky Bamboo Dharma seed useful? Bamboo Moon came. She approached her step by step, looked down at Zhu Yao, and asked softly. Why? Zhu Yao screamed at the sky. Her hair was disheveled. She was in despair because Bamboo Moon was too powerful. She could kill her in an instant. Her mournful eyes glared at Zhu Yu angrily. She was very jealous of this woman. Just the fact that the weak Su Yan dared to beat her up and stand up for Zhu Yu had already made Zhu Yao crazy with jealousy. Who was Su Yan now? He was an invincible being who could look down on the Emperor Road. He was ferocious. Even the Tongtian young master was killed by him. Zhu Yu reached out with her palm and shot out a ray of mother energy. It suppressed Zhu Yao's body and pulled out one of the sky bamboo dharma seeds that originally belonged to her from her body. Zhu Yao screamed in pain. She felt that her primordial spirit was being pulled out. She coughed up blood. Her body cracked and her cultivation level dropped. Her life source was greatly damaged, and she fell from the true immortal realm to the immortal realm. My strength. No. Zhu Yao lost control of her emotions. She screamed hysterically as if she had gone mad. Why? Why is the heavens so unfair to me? So unfair. She could not take it anymore. She was so angry that she coughed up blood. From the Qingshan continent to the greater essence golden pill, from the seven-colored origin immortal fruit to the Emperor Road, the series of encounters drove Zhu Yao crazy. However, she eventually became a true immortal and was considered an elite in the immortal celestial domain. But now, she had lost everything and returned to the immortal realm. Her life force was greatly damaged. Bamboo Moon's slender hand held a condensed sky bamboo dharma seed. She looked at it calmly for a while and sighed softly. Then, this dharma characteristic seed turned into a stream of light and entered her silver bamboo. Chapter 1642. The green great Tao rushed towards the sky bamboo ancestral land, covering the skies and suppressing millions of other great Taos. It was about to shatter the entire ancestral land. Attack. Suppress it for me. The sky bamboo lineage's ancestor experts roared as they hurled out their supreme treasures at the green great Tao. A great enemy had arrived and forced his way into the ancestral land. But such a ridiculous incident had never happened before. If they couldn't suppress it, the entire race would lose all face. Boom! Killing intent pervaded the ancestral land as the sect's supreme treasures awakened. Shocking experts erupted with fury. Kill! No one has ever dared to humiliate our race. Hundreds and thousands of experts roared, shaking heaven and earth. The entire ancestral land burned with boundless divine light as it attacked the green great Tao. Madness! Even in the outside world, countless creatures could see that the sky bamboo ancestral land was undergoing a great change. Above the sea of stars, the silhouettes of giant experts gushed with world-destroying auras. These experts were definitely ancestor existences erupting with the most shocking killing intent. They also wielded the most powerful supreme treasures. This was the race's ancestral land. Experts emerged in large numbers and heroes filled the sky. They erupted with flames of fury to shatter the green great Tao. Boom! Heaven and earth exploded as energy ripples wreaked havoc throughout the sky. The entire sky bamboo ancestral land burned with boundless brilliance as if a slumbering prehistoric beast was awakening. It surged with savage energy to attack the green great Tao. This great Tao with millions upon millions of strands of auspicious light was like the world's toughest substance. It was eternally unmoving and eternally imperishable. A supreme Tao fruit began to appear within it. Someone really is attacking the sky bamboo ancestral land. Everyone was terrified. The sky bamboo prefecture was in chaos. Even the experts from the surrounding prefectures noticed that the sky bamboo prefecture was facing a great change. Some of the old antiques from the immortal sects came out to observe the sky bamboo ancestral land. They were immediately alarmed. The green great Tao was majestic to the extreme. It covered the entire sky and flowed with terrifying Tao fruit radiance. It was like a supreme order was being arranged. Who is attacking the sky bamboo lineage? Legend has it that the race's progenitor has fallen. However, this race was once prosperous to the extreme. Their foundations must be unfathomable. Even progenitor experts have to consider whether or not they can overturn the sky bamboo ancestral land. During this period of time, major events have happened one after another. I never thought that the sky bamboo ancestral land would undergo such a great change. It was destined to be a huge event that would shake the entire undying heavenly domain. If it was really a battle between immortal sects, it would definitely be recorded in the history books. Rumble! A deafening explosion resounded. Murderous light poured down from the sky bamboo ancestral ground. Even a single wave could destroy the world. The great Tao of Azure Tao had forced its way into the sky bamboo lineage. It was the same as poking a hornet's nest. In a short period of time, the sky bamboo lineage had gathered a shocking amount of power to resist. What shocked the spectating experts of the outside world was that no matter how the heavenly bamboo ancestral land's backing smashed down, the green great Tao remained the same from beginning to end. It truly was like the world's most sturdy divine iron. It covered the heavens and splashed out with the light of supreme Tao fruit order. Bastard! Zhu Lihui let out a furious roar. Bring out the power of the ancestral land and destroy it. When have my heavenly bamboo lineage ever been afraid of anyone? Even if they're weak, they're still invincible. Even primal ancestors won't be able to escape unscathed. Kill! Kill him! More than a dozen old ancestors roared. Their hair danced wildly as if they had gone mad. There was also a group of old ancestors who had been sleeping in the spacetime hole. They woke up in groups, their eyes filled with bone-chilling coldness. The ancestral court is reviving. It will definitely be able to destroy this powerful enemy. This is the place where the primal ancestor once sat in seclusion. It's an invincible Tao field. The primal ancestor definitely left behind a supreme foundation inside. The clansmen of the clan shouted loudly. This matter had happened in an extremely short period of time. It had seriously exceeded their understanding. Right now, they only wanted to see the great Tao of Azure Tao explode and the invading enemy be blasted to death. Dense light of time rushed out from the ancestral court. This was the clan's most powerful Tao field. The law runes were endless, and there existed one great Tao of order after another. At the end of each great Tao, terrifying figures were faintly discernible. It was as if the ancestors of the past were returning along the great Tao of reincarnation. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Over 100 streaks of light of order erupted. It was as if over 100 supreme beings had revived from their slumber. The momentum was vast, shaking the world. Even in the ancestral court, supreme heavenly weapons were awakening. There were 36 of them, and they scattered down boundless killing power. Ah! Seeing this scene, Zhu Lihui laughed loudly. Who could withstand this kind of foundation? The most outstanding experts of the clan would choose to pass away in the ancestral court, leaving behind the great Tao they had cultivated all their lives. Over time, there were over 100 supreme great Tao in the ancestral court. Once they were activated, it was terrifying beyond compare. It was enough to sink an entire province. This could be said to be the ultimate power, the most invincible defensive method. Of course, what was shocking was that over 100 supreme great Tao protected an invincible great Tao that was filled with the pressure of the vast river of time. This was the great Tao order left behind by the clan's primal ancestor. It was equivalent to the primal ancestor's hand pressing down. It's the primal ancestor's aura in the black prison. Over 100 experts were locked up. They were all shackled and had heavy shackles on their legs. Someone roared, his gray-white hair fluttering in the wind. He let out a beast-like howl. I don't believe that Master has fallen. I don't believe it. I will never believe it. Master is definitely still alive. He will definitely return. His supreme great Tao is still here, still here. A woman whose eyes were full of vicissitudes of life cried out in grief. Her scarred body shone, about to shatter the shackles and destroy the heavenly prison. There were also people who were depressed and speechless. It had been 1,000,000 years. Was the primal ancestor still alive? In the black prison, there were a few disciples of Sky Bamboo's primal ancestor. There were even giants with terrifying auras who had forged the body of a golden immortal. They looked up to the sky and roared, "Do you believe it? I can feel Master's aura. I can really feel it. It's just wishful thinking." The chaos in the black prison made the 3 experts guarding the prison look cold. The current Sky Bamboo was no longer the same clan as before. Zhu Tian had stepped into the primal ancestor realm. When he was strong enough in the future, he would announce to the world that the clan name was changed. This was the biggest change for their clan. They believed that the future Sky Clan would definitely be the strongest clan in the undying heavenly domain. "You traitors will not have a good ending. Our clan is glorious because of our primal ancestor. You are nothing if our primal ancestor is gone." The experts in the black prison roared, their eyes red. Back then, Sky Bamboo's primal ancestor went to the Emperor Road's end with his 3 strongest subordinates. However, none of them returned alive. Who would have thought that Zhu Tian would betray them and take over the primal ancestor realm? After 1,000,000 years of silence, he finally stepped into the primal ancestor realm and became a legendary giant. Boom! A horrifying scene. The ancestral court's power was unleashed to destroy the Green Great Tao. "You will die. You will die a horrible death." In the palace, Zhu Yao screamed crazily. Her mind was about to collapse. She could not bear the current outcome. Now, she only had one goal, and that was to see Bamboo Moon suppressed and imprisoned in the black prison. She would suffer endless years of cruel torture. Smack! Bamboo Moon raised her hand and slapped Zhu Yao, sending her flying and crashing into the palace wall. She fell down hard and coughed out blood. However, she had already lost her mind. She screamed, "You will die. Ha! So what if you kill me? Ha ha ha, don't worry. I won't kill you. I will show you the truth." Zhu Yu's appearance was exceptional, untainted by even a speck of dust. There was no killing intent as she stood on the great green path, her style unmatched. She could feel the green great Tao rumbling. The supreme Tao fruit in it was manifesting. Finally, it released a dazzling light. In an instant, the entire Sky Bamboo ancestral land shook violently. The vast ancestral land, the magnificent mountains and rivers, the rich territory, and the ancient land that had been there for a long time were revived in an instant. Even with the suppression and influence of Zhu Tian's power, it almost exploded in an instant. The remnant aura from ancient times was awakened. It swept across the entire Sky Bamboo clan and gave the ancestral land a new atmosphere. The pressure of time from ancient times covered the place with a rumble. The strongest experts of the Sky Bamboo clan all knelt on the ground and trembled. They couldn't resist. It was as if they were born this way. They only felt that the supreme God in their lives was awakening and looking down on the world. It was difficult to imagine what had happened. The ancestral court rumbled and bloomed with auspicious light. The supreme great Tao that had existed since ancient times rumbled as if they were congratulating the return of the ancestor. The great Tao in the center flew out of the ancestral court and pierced through the green great Tao. At this moment, a blazing light tore through the entire sky. The green great Tao turned into a stream of light. It flowed between heaven and earth along with the order of the Sky Bamboo ancestors' great Tao. The stream of light carried the supreme light of order. It was as if it was creating a new world. A green bamboo appeared in it. It floated in the river of time. However, the green bamboo was a little blurry and could collapse at any time. It was going to accept the judgment of fate. However, at this moment, a supreme emperor's shadow appeared behind the green bamboo. Its influence was too far-reaching. It was an existence that was difficult to reach. It suppressed the green bamboo's broken body. This was a terrifying manifestation. It was hard for people to imagine. Legend had it that the sky bamboo ancestor had once followed the celestial emperor of the ancient celestial court. Perhaps it was true. The illusory figure behind it was too unique and special. Even time couldn't erase it. Legend had it that some terrifying existence's followers would be greatly affected by the aura of these existences. The illusory green bamboo took root between heaven and earth. It suddenly turned into a woman in green. The supreme rules danced with it. A terrifying life force bloomed with her. A world-shocking change. This was a huge change in the Sky Bamboo clan. The blurry woman in green shook her sleeve, causing the strongest experts of the clan to tremble. Their bodies were about to explode. The heroes were terrified. They couldn't believe their eyes. Zhu Lihue felt that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He seemed to have seen the ancestor of the Sky Bamboo clan. Impossible, he was terrified and trembled. He endured the pressure and stood up. He ran for his life. Boom. Unfortunately, he hadn't run far when a huge hand struck him. The impact sent Zhu Lihue flying. He fell in front of the Sky Bamboo ancestor. Zhu Lihue's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He saw an old man in green. He had recovered. Not only had he reconstructed his body, but he had also stepped into the grand heavenly realm. He could vaguely sense the supreme aura of a golden immortal. Although he wasn't a supreme expert, it was enough to shock the world. Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Zhu Yao reared his head back and laughed. Tears flickered in his eyes. These long years were like a dream. It was only now that he had returned to reality. Old brothers, I'm back. He raised his huge hand and broke open the black prison. His heart was filled with sorrow and pain. Is it really the ancestor? The 100 experts in the black prison lost control of their emotions. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. A blurry woman in green clothes was surrounded by the light rain of time. She seemed to be standing in a distant era and looking down on this world. Lil Zhu is still alive, in an extremely distant space. A tall man with disheveled hair turned his head. The sea of stars in the heavens appeared in his deep eyes. Primitive holy power spread and shot out 2 beams of divine light. It was as if 2 great immortal swords had opened up a path of time and space in 1,000 great continents. He saw the changes in the Sky Bamboo clan. Then, the time and space in his eyes vanished. He saw another great continent in the distance. Cold winds howled. Gods wept and ghosts wept. Gods and devils danced wildly. Boom. In an instant, the prehistoric Big Brother's figure shook off the long river of time and space. His figure disappeared as well. At this moment, a few terrifying old antiques were on their way to the netherworld. Their hearts trembled. They saw a huge tear in time and space. It was too shocking. It had crushed the essence of the immortal path in the heavenly domain. This was an extreme power that the heavens and earth could not bear. It could destroy the heavenly domain's Tao fruit. It's the beginning of the month. Brothers, please vote for me. Chapter 1643. The Sky Bamboo lineage had undergone a huge change. The entire undying heavenly domain was in a state of turmoil. If it was in the past, the changes in the Sky Bamboo lineage would have attracted the attention of many experts. But now the undying heavenly domain was in chaos. What the world didn't know was that the greatest storm that swept across the undying heavenly domain was caused by the scoundrel Tai Baokai. He used an aphrodisiac to force Yin Jun how to speak, which eventually led to a series of storms. But this storm was a little scary. Su Yen and Bao Kai traversed the prefectures all along the way, and every single time they traversed a prefecture they spent a great deal of time. But with the energy of the innate path, and relying on the might of the heavens and the earth to travel at full speed, his speed wasn't inferior to an expert at the golden immortal realm. Fortunately, they were traveling from the Emperor continent, so they weren't too far away from their destination. They only needed to cross a few dozen continents to reach their destination. Another old monster has awakened and came out to join in the fun. Terrifying creatures are everywhere. We don't even have a sense of existence anymore." Baukai grinned. After all, it was closely related to the series of storms, so it couldn't help but feel proud. In the continent that they passed by, an old monster that had been hibernating for a long time had awakened. His body was hunched, and his terrifying aura swept across the entire continent. It was as if an invincible giant was about to return to the world and command the world. Billions of living beings were trembling in fear. Even if the primogenitor realm experts that didn't care about worldly affairs for a long time, when they awakened, they still emitted a glorious light that overlooked the continent. Su Yen and Baukai were already used to it. They stayed far away and left quickly. Along the way, they encountered a few giants, but they were still terrified. These people were just too strong. They were equivalent to the strongest experts in the undying heavenly domain. Every one of them possessed shocking heavenly might. In that case, how powerful was a mythical being like the ancestor of the immortals? The primogenitors were indeed primogenitors. They were strong and prosperous, and created the immortal sections. They were legends that lived in legend. They wouldn't even appear in an era of the universe. But now, there were primogenitor realm experts appearing one after another. The ultimate treasure, reincarnation medicine, was unimaginably valuable. How many ultimate treasures could one find in the world? To these old monsters with their blood and chi, it was a life-saving medicine that could give them another life. It wasn't something that the young fish seedlings could compare to. When I become a primal ancestor, I will conquer over 100 prefectures. Baukai thought ferociously. What a happy life that would be. He could take all the wealth of the world for himself and lie down and sleep every day. A lofty dream. When the time comes, I can make billions of babies and let them conquer the world while it enjoys a peaceful life in its nest. Su Yan's words made Baukai stagger and almost fall off the space-time path. He was so angry that divine light was emitting from his body. Su Yan tried his best to cross the continents and reach his destination as quickly as possible. He hoped that he could meet up with the experts from the Flame Emperor organization. However, even if he had the Celestial Court's most wanted fugitives, he was still too weak in the immortal celestial realm. The world is going to be in chaos. The immortal heavenly domain trembled continuously. The terrifying giants who had not shown themselves for a long time were awakened one after another, unleashing their heavenly might that swept across the world. Especially in recent days, the 3,000 continents at the center of the immortal heavenly domain were filled with suffocating waves of energy. The structure of the universe had changed, becoming a world of giants. It was as if the world had returned to the prehistoric era of chaos. Even if it's really an ultimate treasure medicine that has matured, there's no need to cause such a huge commotion, right? Someone said in shock. They were worried that if such a large-scale battle broke out, the world would be destroyed. Until today, many races in the continents around the underworld had moved away from the calamity. Only a small number of ancient races had a premonition that the world was going to undergo a huge change in the future. This could be the most terrifying change in the history of the immortal heavenly domain. The primal ancestor experts had a premonition and were prepared to stand at the peak before the calamity. Only then could they continue to dominate the world in the future. Between the heaven and earth, the primal ancestor experts gathered in the continents of the underworld and formed a heaven-defying structure. The storm was getting stronger and stronger. When Su Yen got closer to the continents of the underworld, he was shocked. His instincts told him that there was a forbidden zone in front of him and he had to stop. Hong long long. Shockwaves rippled across the land, shaking the 4 seas and the stars in the sky. It was hard to imagine how many giants had gathered in the continents of the underworld, forming the scene of the heaven domain's space-time wailing. The shockwaves were too far away and the influence was boundless. Even though he was so far away, Su Yen still felt suffocated. He had no choice but to borrow the power of the heaven and earth to isolate himself from the shockwave. At the same time, his face was solemn. Once the battle broke out, countless lives would be lost. Only the heavens knew how far the shockwaves would spread. Soon, Su Yen found a strong terrain and stood in the middle of the heaven and earth. He pointed one hand to the sky and the other to the ground. He was like a supreme being born by the heaven and earth. With a loud roar, the power of the heaven and earth started to revolve around him. A majestic aura was awakening. Su Yen was like a grand heavenly realm expert, commanding the heaven and earth. Reflect. His hands pushed the boundless power of the heaven and earth, evolving a shocking space-time exploration power. This area seemed to have been cut off and turned into a huge space-time mirror, reflecting the scene in the distance. This was the power of the mystical gate, which was also equivalent to the mirror image technique. It could project the scene of the distant world. However, the projection that followed was a little frightening. The strange gate technique that Su Yen had conjured almost exploded. This was because there were many vague and majestic figures on the mirror. It was as if their real bodies had crossed over and blasted through this place. Su Yen was alarmed. He couldn't see through their original appearances. These people were too shocking. This mystical gate mirror image technique is recorded on the Imperial Sky Dao diagram, the supreme secret technique of the mystical heaven sect. I didn't expect it to be so difficult to see through. Su Yan's expression was solemn. The Imperial Sky Dao diagram that he had obtained from the mystical heaven saint Sun was one of the 3 supreme treasures of the mystical heaven sect. However, this Imperial Sky Dao diagram was a supreme treasure refined by the mystical heaven sect's founder. Su Yen was unable to break through it and control it. However, on the Imperial Sky Dao diagram, there was a series of supreme secret techniques of the mystical heaven sect. In these years, Su Yen had studied many of them and also cultivated many of them. His mastery of the mystical gate was becoming more and more perfect. I feel that the underworld will compromise and hand over the ultimate treasure medicine to share with the world, Baokai said. Even if the Lord of the Underworld was ancient and heaven-defying, he was also very clear about how terrifying this situation was. It was equivalent to the torrent of the entire universe pressing down on this place. Not necessarily. This old antique has lived for a long time and has always looked down on the world. The dignity of the strong cannot be blasphemed. Maybe a fight will break out. Su Yen whispered, in the past, the Lord of the Underworld joined forces with the founder of the mystical heaven sect and the founder of the Xian people to sink the celestial court branch in the 9 cauldron state. Maybe these 2 giants will come to help him. That's a possibility. No matter what, I really hope that they will fight. Even if we don't get anything, we won't have come in vain. Baokai thought viciously, hoping that things would develop to the worst possible level. After all, these days, because of Su Yan's rise in the Emperor Road, the Celestial Court branch had regained its glory. Because of this, the forces of the underworld had their eyes on the Celestial Court branch. At the same time, Baokai hoped that the old man of Tongtian would appear here so that he could stir up his nest. The space-time mirror image technique showed images that were sometimes blurry and sometimes clear. He did not dare to pay too much attention to the strong cultivators entrenched in the underworld's great states. He was worried that the founder of the underworld would notice him. He tried to use the space-time mirror image technique to search the underworld, hoping that he would be able to find out the secret. In the underworld, there were billions of strands of yin qi. Black fog rose into the sky and covered the sun. It was a place of death, a place that shocked one's soul. Moreover, the source was so vast that one could not see the end of it. What a terrifying force field! Su Yen was speechless. The entire underworld's great states must be covered by a shocking formation. The space-time mirror image technique could not see anything clearly. After all, this was the underworld that had been passed down for billions of years. It was full of strangeness and death. Most of the founder of the underworld would not be able to see through it. However, since Su Yan had the heaven-opening writing brush, he might be able to see through it. Of course, Su Yan was not in a hurry to make a move. He was prepared to wait and see. After a few days, another big shot arrived and headed to their destination. Most of them were people whose blood and qi had dried up. Even so, terrifying blood and qi continued to penetrate the world, sweeping across the great states and forming a destructive energy tide. Su Yan and Baotsai's hiding place shook. Fortunately, he had gathered the power of heaven and earth to defend himself. Otherwise, his hiding place would have collapsed. If that happened, there would be no place for him in this vast world. How could a true immortal gain a foothold in a battle between founders? Not even a grand heavenly immortal could do it. Only the sect leader had the qualifications. Boom. A day later, heaven and earth trembled. An indescribable aura was released. It carried the divine might of the immortal Tao and swept across the world. It's about to begin, Su Yan's heart trembled. Was the battle really about to begin? It was hard to imagine how violent the aura was. It was like a sea of chaos had exploded. It shook the entire undying heavenly domain. Countless living beings trembled. They felt as if the heavens were collapsing. The 33 heavens were about to be opened and the land beyond the heavens was about to be bombarded. The entire underworld's great states trembled violently. Huge black cracks appeared one after another. It was as if the entire underworld was about to be torn apart. The space-time mirror image technique was so blurry that nothing could be seen. However, some images were still reflected. Grand syllables were released, shaking the heavens and the earth. It was not just one big shot shouting. The scenes in the underworld's land beyond the heavens became more and more terrifying. Finally, the sky collapsed. It was as if 3,000 ancient Buddhas were chanting sutras. It was also as if 3,000 demon lords were attacking the universe. Ancient words appeared in the sky. Each of the ancient characters represented a supreme great Tao, and they slammed down toward the underworld. The battle has begun. Baokai was in a frenzy. One had to know that the instigators of all this were related to them. They had started a great battle between the pinnacle. Could the underworld's great states withstand it? A group of supreme big shots roared. Ancient words rushed toward the underworld. The vast and boundless underworld's great states might really collapse. In an instant, Su Yan's gray blood boiled. His battle body suddenly turned pitch black. It was as if he had turned into a demon. The pain was unbearable. Ah! Su Yan roared at the sky. His long robe fluttered. His vitality surged to the heavens. He forcefully suppressed the changes in his bloodline. Lord of the underworld! Su Yan's eyes turned red. He saw a huge outline of the underworld's great states. Its head was the dome of the heavens, and its feet stepped on the desolate land. Its figure filled the entire great state. Its aura was so terrifying that it could shake all 3,000 continents. What kind of invincible giant was this? A terrifying silhouette appeared, and a Tao diagram unfurled. This was the true Tao diagram of hell, encompassing heaven and earth, interwoven with supreme order and natural law, suppressing the chaos in hell. Chapter 1644. The scene in the underworld's continent was terrifying. A huge silhouette rose from the ground and filled the entire continent. The ancient heavenly might was vast and mighty. This was not his true body. Just the silhouette was enough to cause the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. It gave birth to a tide of energy that rushed into the sky and drowned the stars. Lord of the underworld, someone's voice trembled. Across the distant continent, they could already see the figure in the underworld's continent. It was like the supreme god that ruled over the 3,000 continents, looking down on the heavens and controlling reincarnation. He's the Lord of the underworld. Su Yan clenched his fist. His long black hair danced in the wind. He could not calm down. He recalled the decisive battle at the Celestial Court in the Nine Cauldrons continent and the scene of his young self being sealed by the underworld's seed devil. Su Yan's blood boiled with anger. His eyes emitted a cold light. Su Yan, what's going on with you? Why do I feel that the aura in your body is similar to that of the Lord of the Underworld? Did he make things difficult for you before? Bao Cai's expression was serious. He noticed that black fog was rolling in Su Yan's flesh shell. It was trying to cover Su Yan's flesh shell. It was like some kind of corrosion was trying to make Su Yan transform. Although Su Yan had temporarily suppressed the seed devil of the underworld, the various influences caused Su Yan unbearable pain. He felt as if he was about to turn dark and fall into the purgatory of the underworld, turning into a member of the underworld. The supreme suppression was trying to make Su Yan's talent transform and dry up his life force. Such a thing had never happened before. Without a doubt, it was because of the appearance of the Lord of the Underworld that caused the seed devil to rebel. Once the aura leaked out, the Lord of the Underworld would definitely pay attention to him. Back then, the three ancestors attacked the Celestial Court for the heavenly coffin. This series of events was related to him. Roar! Su Yan roared at the sky. He activated the beginning scripture and the Sun Mother scripture. He pushed his strongest strength and domineering spiritual will to forcefully suppress the influence of the seed devil and seal it with the gray blood. Lord of the Underworld, one day, I'll be invincible and destroy you. A cold light shot out from Su Yan's eyes. His powerful essence, energy and spirit were emitted. He was still young and had plenty of time to work hard. He was determined that one day, he would be invincible under the heavens. Even under the influence of such a large environment, Su Yan still possessed an invincible heart. What did he do to you? Bao Cai asked anxiously. A seal is nothing. I will break it in the future. Su Yan's energy became even more terrifying. Thousands of rays of light surged out of his body, illuminating the sky, the earth, the rivers, and the mountains. It was a shocking scene where gods and demons were dancing in the sky. When Su Yan crawled out of the dark world, he swore that he would be invincible in the future. Now, it wasn't just a request for himself. It was also a promise to the dead ancestors of the Celestial Court. He would crush everything in the future. The Lord of the Underworld was the oldest and most powerful person in the world. He created the underworld, which was glorious until now. In the eyes of the world, he was also the source of terror. He was like the representative of death and hell. He was extremely powerful. The war is about to begin. The world trembled. When the Lord of the Underworld was resurrected, the map of the underworld that guarded the underworld all year round also awakened. This was the most powerful treasure. Under the control of the ancestors, the map of the underworld could be called an indestructible celestial weapon. The supreme aura continued to grow. Great divine power bloomed and swept across the universe. It shook the 3,000 states. This was the most powerful ancestor, the Overlord of the underworld. With the support of the underworld's infinite resources, it was extremely difficult to break through the underworld. Most importantly, most of the ancestors in outer space hadn't made a move yet. They were still waiting and watching. Boom! The experts in outer space roared. Great Tao runes filled the sky and rained down, resonating with the underworld. This was just a probing attack, but it was already shocking enough. The attack power was unparalleled, and it wouldn't be able to destroy the current underworld. Everyone could see the Lord of the Underworld's ancient figure awakening. The supreme Great Tao runes that filled the sky rushed into outer space, collapsing the boundless starry sky. Muster up Maka, the chanting of sutras continued in the sky. A group of terrifying existences were scolding the underworld, indicating the stakes involved. Many of them did not want to start a war. If they were to offend the most ancient overlord of the celestial domain, Once the underworld was touched, the other ancient powers would be involved as well. Once the war broke out, it would be a catastrophe for the celestial domain. Countless continents would be destroyed. Boom. The Lord of the Underworld's aura became more and more shocking. His true body had already appeared. His pores spewed out blood chi light, shaking the heavens and earth. He held the map of the underworld, and the samsara wheel of life and death above his head. He looked down at the world, and his figure stood in the space filled with rolling black fog, evolving the supreme order of slaughter. His pair of cold eyes looked at the powerhouse in outer space. All of a sudden, a bronze mirror appeared in the sky. The mirror shone brightly, illuminating the universe and the essence of heaven and earth. It illuminated the endless darkness of the underworld. They were studying the whereabouts of the reincarnation medicine. Su Yen saw a blurry image through the space-time mirror image technique. A stalk of medicine appeared in the underworld that was filled with rolling black fog. It seemed to be as tall as heaven and earth, growing in the black swamp. The medicine was very special. It was shaped like a fruit and a human. It spewed out reincarnation runes, and it was about to blossom with the strongest essence of life. Rebirth medicine. The image flashed and disappeared. The map of the underworld covered the sky, suppressing the probing power of the mirror and cutting off the connection. Among the experts who were entrenched in outer space, several experts whose vital energy and blood had dried up, their turbid eyes shone with fanaticism. At this moment, it was difficult for them to remain calm. Someone growled, "The ultimate treasure is the reincarnation elixir. If I can take a breath of it, I can extend my life by 10,000 years. I can recover my exhausted vital energy and blood and continue to fight for a future. Ultimate supreme treasure medicine, I've only seen 3 of them in my life." Another old monster said coldly, "The end is near and we have to fight for it. The universe's calamity is coming. Is the Lord of the Underworld still going to persist? Aren't you afraid that you'll die?" The Lord of Hell had a cold expression on his face. His terrifying devil body shone with boundless light of reincarnation, as though the 6 paths of reincarnation were being manifested here. His silhouette could faintly be seen transforming into 6 invincible overlords. Some of the giants were shocked. Any of the strongest skills in history couldn't be underestimated. Legend had it that when the Tao of reincarnation reached the extreme, it would turn into 6 invincible bodies. Reincarnation was the most powerful skill. It was extremely complicated and difficult to comprehend. What kind of giant was the Lord of the Underworld? If he could turn into 6 invincible bodies, wouldn't he be heaven-defying? Some of the ancestors even had serious expressions. If the Lord of the Underworld consumed the complete rebirth medicine, he might reach the extreme on this path. It had to be said that some of the sect masters sighed. Their ancestral path hadn't been settled yet, but the cruel reality was right in front of them. Some of the ancestors could still grow stronger. Back then, they joined forces to destroy the Celestial Courts branch. In the end, they reaped great rewards. What are you all waiting for? Why aren't you making your move? Some couldn't wait any longer. They were determined to get the rebirth medicine. This was bewitching the hearts of the people to fight for the rebirth medicine. Suddenly, the continent trembled. A sky-splitting bull's roar exploded, shattering the stars in the sky. A pitch-black divine bull appeared. Its vitality was waning, but once it was revived, it was terrifying. Its burly figure was as tall as heaven and earth. Its huge bull head glowed, and its pitch-black horns stretched across the sky. It was as if it could shatter the 33 layers of heaven. "It's the ancestor of the 1,000 Beasts sect." Baokai was shocked. "Rumor has it that he passed away. I didn't expect him to still be alive. It seems like the rebirth medicine has a fatal attraction to them, especially a group of old fellows. It's a reason for them to fight with their lives on the line." A divine bull exuded a power that could shock the heavens and earth and make ghosts and gods weep. Its huge horns smashed down. This was the toughest part of its body, and it could also be called a super-killing weapon. Just like that, it descended from the sky and rushed toward the underworld, wanting to blast a huge hole in it. Kill! An old divine bull roared. Its huge horns were like boundless black continents, crashing into the underworld. The moment it attacked, several primogenitor overlords of the demon race were awakened. There was even a weakened heavenly beast that stood out. Its aura flooded the river of time and space, and its roar shook the entire underworld as it unleashed the most terrifying killing intent. The strongest storm surged. Some of the ancestor experts who acted alone felt their hearts turn cold. Some small groups joined hands to share the rebirth medicine. Some people became serious. They really had to consider whether they should participate or not. Even if they really took the rebirth medicine, they wouldn't have the time to refine it. They might even be beaten to death. It's too lively. This beast god is actually the instigator of such a battle. Ah! Bao Kai cried out loudly, his tone excited. This was a great battle at the pinnacle, one that was hard to encounter in a great era. It hadn't happened in millions of years. Even though he relied on the indistinct space-time mirror image technique, he could still see some scenes. Brat, what's wrong with you? Seeing Su Yan sitting on the ground in silence, Bao Kai was stunned. Su Yan was silent for a while. Then, he swung his sleeves, and pieces of topographic maps appeared in the void. They were densely packed, and one after another, enriching the momentum of heaven and earth. These were the topographic maps that Su Yan had captured when the bronze mirror shone on the underworld. He imprinted them in the void and examined them carefully. Finally, he took out the Imperial Sky Dao diagram to compare them. Bao Kai was shocked. Is the layout of the underworld set up by the ancestor of the Wondrous Heaven sect? No matter how strong the master of the underworld is, he can't withstand such a storm. I believe he has a backup plan, Su Yan said calmly. I think he's stalling for time, waiting for the rebirth medicine to mature. Some ancestor experts won't make a move until they see the rebirth medicine. The rebirth medicine I saw was blurry, and some experts are still hesitating. But even if the rebirth medicine matures, it's still in the underworld. Is it not in the underworld? Bao Kai was shocked. If that was the case, the master of the underworld was really bold. Wasn't he afraid of being killed? It's true. Su Yan's expression changed greatly. He locked onto a strange formation on the Imperial Sky Dao diagram. This Imperial Sky Dao diagram recorded a series of strange inheritances of the Odd Sky sect. Without extraordinary skills, it would be difficult to learn. Moreover, the Imperial Sky Dao diagram was a supreme treasure that only the sect masters of the Wondrous Heaven sect were qualified to possess. If it weren't for the Yang Fish incident, the Wondrous Heaven Saint Child wouldn't have been able to obtain the Imperial Sky Dao diagram. When Su Yan encountered the Wondrous Heaven Saint Child, he had to admit that he was too unlucky. The Imperial Sky Dao diagram wasn't qualified to display its power. Otherwise, with the power of the Imperial Sky Dao diagram, even the 9 continents cauldrons might not be able to suppress it. After all, Su Yan didn't have the qualifications to display the laws of the 9 continents cauldrons, and the Imperial Sky Dao diagram was refined by the Wondrous Heaven sect's ancestor. It was his life's work. Yin-Yang life and death formation, Su Yan said excitedly. This is the highest level of the Imperial Sky Dao diagram, and I still haven't figured out its mysteries. This formation is Yin and Yang, and they are intertwined. If the underworld's formation is Yin, then there's another formation in another place. It's definitely not in the underworld. The underworld's Yin Qi is overwhelming, and it's not suitable for a Yang formation. Su Yan murmured. This was a huge clue, and once it was dug out, he could take advantage of it. Chapter 1645. Bao Cai's eyes lit up as it spoke excitedly. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and dig out the place where the reincarnation medicine grows. We might be able to take a back door. If it was really as Su Yen had guessed, there was a high chance that they could use the Lord of the Underworld's back door. Su Yan's heartbeat began to accelerate. The underworld was currently facing the most terrifying disaster. All the giants were eyeing them covetously. Once they fully participated in the battle, it would be a devastating blow to the underworld. The underworld was clear about the seriousness of the problem. In that case, the backdoors set up by the Lord of the Underworld might not have strong defensive method. They had a high chance of taking advantage of the situation. Since the Imperial Sky Dao diagram is the most top-notch terrain layout, with the Lord of the Underworld's level, he must have invited the ancestor of the Mystic Heaven sect. I believe this domain belongs to the world's most top-notch. Su Yen sucked in a breath of cold air to calm himself down. He focused his attention on deducing the yin-yang life and death formation. This formation was the pinnacle of the mystic sect's heaven and earth layout. With Su Yan's cultivation base, his mental strength was quickly exhausted. Bao Kai did not dare to disturb him. Su Yan's forehead was covered in sweat. It could be seen how much soul power he had consumed. After all, this was a domain set up by the ancestor of the Mystic Heaven sect. The other party could evolve the strongest heaven and earth killing formation at any time. He was a legendary expert who created the Mystic Heaven sect. It had been glorious for a long time and was still a flourishing immortal sect. The more he deduced, the deeper Su Yen sank. His brain felt like it was about to explode. It was too complicated and difficult to understand. If his primordial spirit had not cultivated the Sun Mother Scripture and stood at the peak of the true immortal realm, he would most likely have fallen deep into it and would not be able to return. Gradually, Su Yen began to use the heaven-opening writing brush. Without the heaven-opening writing brush, I can't figure it out at all. However, it's different with it. I can definitely find it. Su Yan's eyes widened. This was the most powerful treasure in the mystic sect domain. It could turn something rotten into something magical, change the world, and was omnipotent. In the end, Su Yen growled and used all his strength to activate the heaven-opening writing brush. Suddenly, Su Yen gazed at hell once more. The terrifying battle was taking place right in front of his eyes. It was a glorious showdown, the evolution of the Supreme Order, and the battle between Daozu and Daozu. Look again. Su Yen let out a long roar. The heaven-opening writing brush's continuous recovery was too taxing on Su Yen, but his pupils became more and more shocking. They were like immortal eyes that could tear through the long river of time. The array field that covered the underworld also shattered. The heaven-opening writing brush could see through all fabrications and dig out the most essential substance. In Su Yan's eyes, it was as if the underworld had been shattered. Boundless darkness had collapsed, and in its place was a scene of golden light. A majestic prefecture had appeared before his eyes. Without a doubt, the layout of the underworld was one. Even if they were far away, Su Yen could use the heaven-opening writing brush to explore the destination of another terrain and display the entire layout in his eyes. It's just as I expected. Su Yen was overjoyed. He climbed onto Bao Cai's back and urged him to hurry. Once there was a variable in this kind of battlefield, something extraordinary would happen. Every minute and second had to be grasped. Otherwise, they would miss a good opportunity. Bao Cai was overjoyed. He left the place at an extremely fast speed. However, even though he had crossed a prefecture, there were still terrifying ripples howling. Boom! The peak battle that shook the undying heavenly domain only existed in legends. Half of the prefecture where Bao Cai left had sunk. Soil and rocks rolled, and smoke and dust filled the sky. Terrifying energy was still howling, spreading toward the distant world. A terrifying battle had reached its peak. It was like a great battle in legends. One prefecture after another was about to collapse. The spectators in the distant world felt a chill from head to toe. Some of the weaker immortal sects quietened down. This could be said to be a cruel reality. It was also like a warning bell that reverberated in their ancestral court. Those terrifying creatures were too strong. Once they went berserk, they could overturn the weaker immortal sections. The shock they brought was too great. Their entire clan was uneasy. Baokai was knocked dizzy. If it wasn't for his tough flesh shell, he would have most likely exploded. He flew far away and cried out in pain. The battle will definitely get stronger. Who knows how many territories around us will fall? Baokai growled. A ferocious glint flashed in his eyes. He revived the ancestral dragon and forcefully resisted the heavenly might that filled the world. Boom! His huge claws tore through the void and charged toward the next prefecture. This place was different from the underworld. It was golden and translucent. Scorching auras surged. There were volcanoes everywhere. The layout looked extremely dangerous. The battle of the underworld had far-reaching effects. This prefecture was not peaceful. The sky shook and the earth trembled. Rumble! Many volcanoes could not take it anymore and began to erupt. Rolling lava flowed out, covering the world and burning it red. Baocai's claws stepped on the ground, emitting green smoke. It was obvious how high the temperature was. It was as if millions of volcanoes were erupting at the same time. It burned the sky until it shattered. The clouds in the sky melted. However, the territory of this prefecture was quite sturdy. Everywhere, there were scenes of raging flames burning the sky. The entire prefecture was not completely destroyed. This was the layout. Baocai's expression changed. It avoided the danger zone and quickly approached its destination with Su Yan's guidance. It crossed millions of miles of volcanoes. Its fur was scorched black. Fortunately, its body was made of steel and did not suffer any damage. Su Yan was frantically recovering. With the help of a large number of immortal Dao stones, he could recover to his peak state in a short time. When Baokai was about to rush out of the volcanoes, its fat face sank. Danger! Baokai was on high alert. Its black and white fur stood on end. This world was too quiet. Many volcanoes had yet to erupt. The energy ripples from the battle of the underworld were also forcefully suppressed. This was probably the cave abode of some old expert. Just as it was about to avoid this place and leave through another path, a huge volcano cracked open. A golden figure rushed out from it, carrying blazing flames. It rushed into the sky and looked down at Baokai. This was an old man. His hair danced in the wind. His aura was strong, and his expression was unfriendly. Baokai was shocked. It smiled apologetically and said, "Senior, I was just passing by. It's too dangerous here. I wanted to take a shortcut and leave. I didn't expect to disturb your seclusion." What a load of lies, the old man in golden Taoist robes said with a voice as cold as purgatory. The world is in chaos. Almost all the experts of the major prefectures have retreated. A mere true immortal like you can come here from the underworld. You're not simple. Let's go. Su Yan's expression changed. His godly power had yet to recover, and his primordial spirit sensed great danger. Baokai disappeared with a sidestep. However, the area he left collapsed. A yellow bracelet came flying over, and a huge black hole appeared in the ground. This old man is too ruthless. He wants to kill us silently. Baokai sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly fled. This was a grand heavenly expert. You want to leave? Do you really think a grand heavenly expert is a paper tiger? The old expert's aura was 10,000 times more terrifying than before. It suppressed the world until it trembled. A vast pressure surged out and shook the vast space-time. Roar! Baokai roared. It was dizzy from the pressure and could not stand properly. This was a grand heavenly expert. Just his aura alone was difficult to withstand. However, Baokai was also ferocious. He was no weakling. The ancestral dragon's aura flowed in his flesh shell. His strength reached the heavens, and he directly broke through the space-time seal. The The golden-robed grand heavenly expert was surprised. He was so powerful that even a peak true immortal would not be able to do anything to him. Baotsai's strength was beyond his understanding. Its qi and blood were too vigorous. This should be a genius who dominated the Emperor Road. Why would he appear here? A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Like a cat catching a mouse, his gaze scanned the Baotsai's figure that was constantly moving away. Su Yan, who was on Baotsai's back, made him especially serious. The person on the back of such a powerful being was most likely not simple. He must be a young paragon who looked down on the Emperor Road. "Stay!" he shouted. Monstrous killing intent rose from his body. Golden divine light spewed out of his mouth and nose. Forward! In an instant the world trembled. The 100,000 volcanoes seemed to have exploded, spewing out billions of magma. It flooded the entire land and covered every inch of space-time. This old man, Baokai, was furious. It could not escape at all. The world was sealed. The flames were burning the world and were about to spread to it. The threat of death was infinitely close. A casual move by a grand heavenly expert was not something a true immortal could withstand. A world of flames formed. Baokai was in danger. It was about to be suppressed in the world of flames. Suddenly, a silver gourd shone in the center of the world of flames. As it spewed out, starlight filled the sky. A Milky Way descended from the 9 heavens, blocking the invasion of the Sea of Flames. A grand heavenly supreme treasure. The golden-robed grand heavenly's expression changed. He stared at the Milky Way gourd and said in shock, "That's the Milky Way gourd." His expression was gloomy and uncertain. Powerhouses who could control this kind of treasure all had great backgrounds. However, his expression soon turned cold. Murderous intent shot out from his eyes. He said coldly, "Junior, hand over the Milky Way gourd. Consider it compensation for disturbing my meditation." Su Yan sneered. "How dare you say that? Meditation? If you want my treasure, just say it. Let's see if you can bear the consequences. Brat, you've got guts." The golden-robed old man was furious. He was a grand heavenly expert. How could he be threatened by a true immortal? He walked forward step by step. His footsteps gave birth to the laws of grand heavenly, which swept through the entire sea of flames. This was the formation of a shocking situation. The Milky Way gourd hung above Su Yan's head. It spewed out vast starlight, blocking the invasion of the Sea of Flames. "Su Yan, you can summon the Flame Emperor. Hang him up and reward him for 3 days and 3 nights. Let him know how strong our backing is," Baokai said fiercely. He suspected that this was the expert guarding the rebirth medicine. This large region must be the territory of the underworld. Before Su Yan and the rest were ready to set off, the flame sparrow solemnly gave them a stick of incense. If they encountered any danger, they could ignite it. The Flame Emperor would be here in a short time. "There's no need to kill a chicken with a butcher's knife," Su Yan snorted. There was no need to alarm the Flame Emperor before he understood the situation here. Even if it was a backup plan left behind by the Lord of the Underworld, Su Yan and the rest would not be able to force their way in. However, it was different with the Flame Emperor. Even in the undying heavenly region, there were a few super-wanted criminals from the celestial court. "Hee, since you don't want to hand over the treasure, I'll send you on your way." The golden-robed grand heavenly was ruthless. His Daoan skills were released, sealing the surrounding 100,000 miles. Although the Milky Way gourd was strong, his spiritual power was overwhelming. He used the terrifying strength in his body to seal the power released by the Milky Way gourd. Boom! There was nothing to say. He attacked directly. Using his spiritual power to suppress the Milky Way gourd, he leaped up and punched at Su Yan. Endless horrifying aura rushed over. The destructive tide was surging, causing one's body to be on the verge of collapsing. Just the strength of a grand heavenly expert's physical body was enough to shock the world. Su Yen suddenly recovered. His black hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He was like a divine spirit of heaven and earth that rose from the ground. Divine light shone for 10,000 feet, and the power of the mystic 9 escape technique erupted. The heavens shook, and the 100,000 volcanoes rumbled. This was an extremely rare heaven and earth layout. Su Yen grasped it with the power of the mystic 9 escape technique and suppressed the golden-robed grand heavenly. Rumble! It was as if a fiery red continent was pressing down. The momentum was terrifying beyond compare. Oh no! The golden-robed grand heavenly's expression changed drastically. Under the suppression of the heaven and earth power, his grand heavenly combat body was trembling. Kill! Su Yen let out a loud roar. He pushed the heaven and earth power, and threw over 10,000 punches in a short time. The heaven and earth were boiling, and the vast space-time was exploding. The golden-robed grand heavenly's pores were spurting blood. He was about to explode. This was a heaven and earth killing layout that resonated for 10,000 times. It was difficult for him to withstand it with his physical strength alone. The sea of flames that surged with Su Yen was about to devour this grand heavenly expert. Chapter 2. Chapter 1646. Even if Su Yen gathered the mystical 9 escape techniques and drew upon the power of heaven and earth, it was almost impossible for him to kill a grand heavenly expert. The power of laws within the golden-robed grand heavenly's body was restraining the Milky Way gourd. Hence, Su Yen could use the power of heaven and earth to suppress him with his physical strength alone. However, it was not that easy to kill him. Boom! Baokai let out a low roar and charged forward in an instant. The void collapsed as the radiance of qi and blood gushed out from its entire body. It formed a huge true dragon that spanned 100,000 miles and charged at the suppressed golden-robed grand heavenly. This is, the golden-robed grand heavenly turned pale. Su Yen alone was already crazy enough. He was the supreme genius of the mystical arts. Yet, a true immortal dared to attack a grand heavenly. One could only imagine how savage he was. The charging Baokai stood at the strongest as he channeled the power of the ancestral dragon. He was stunned. This was the most powerful Abijna in history. Who were they? Boom! Draconic aura filled the air as the barbaric collision broke the golden-robed grand heavenly's sternum. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He was also stimulated to the point that he glowed and charged at Baokai with a wild roar. Baokai screamed as its body stiffened. It was sent flying by the roar as its flesh shell trembled. Baokai turned pale. This old thing was too powerful. Under the suppression of Su Yen, it could not even block the killing power of his roar. Su Yen had the power of heaven and earth, and could suppress a grand heavenly expert. However, it was a different story. B*****, how dare you ride on the neck of a grand heavenly? All of you must die. The golden-robed grand heavenly was crushed one after another. He unleashed a raging flame and retracted the aura of the Milky Way gourd. A terrifying wave surged out from his body as the power of heaven and earth gathered in the sky trembled. It was difficult for him to match the berserk grand heavenly expert. Crack! This part of the world collapsed as the aura of a grand heavenly rushed over, causing Su Yan's body to tremble. Suppress! Baokai controlled the Milky Way gourd and charged at the golden-robed grand heavenly expert. Boom! The golden-robed Grand Luo waved his sleeves, and a yellow-orange bracelet shot out. Although its power was not on par with the Milky Way gourd, it was still a natal treasure activated by a Grand Luo expert. The bracelet rapidly enlarged and collided violently with the Milky Way gourd. "Evil creature, I'll kill you first," the golden-robed Grand Luo growled. His hair was disheveled as fiery radiance surged all over his body. His aura of Grand Luo blanketed the world, automatically forming a vast energy domain as he charged towards Su Yen. A grand heavenly immortal is indeed a grand heavenly immortal. Truly powerful. Su Yan had a solemn expression on his face. He was only at the 5th level of the heavenly immortal realm now, so when facing a furious golden immortal realm expert, Su Yan's body was trembling without end, and he was really on the verge of exploding. Boom! It was also at this time that Su Yan's aura erupted without limit. A battle suit covered his body, emitting light and heat all of a sudden. The scene during this process was extremely terrifying. It was as if a sea of stars had evolved, and the golden stars in the sky were rotating along with it. Grand Luo Silver Essence Battle Suit, the golden-robed Grand Luo roared. His eyes were bloodshot, and he even felt that he was too poor. The 2 great treasures that Su Yan had taken out in succession were immortal treasures that could only be chanced upon by luck in the Grand Luo realm. Kill! Su Yan roared. The Grand Luo battle suit was unleashed to its peak state as he charged forward and clashed with the golden-robed Grand Luo. Boom! The world shook and the sun and moon lost their luster. A terrifying destructive force was born, threatening to destroy the world. It's all mine! It's all mine! The golden-robed Grand Luo roared. He wanted to suppress the Silver Essence battle suit and suppress Su Yan. In a brief moment, the Baokai charged over along the way. Its huge claws carried a huge cauldron as it smashed towards the golden-robed Grand Luo. At first, this expert did not pay much attention to it. However, when the mouth of the 9 continents' heavenly cauldron sank, and a colossal and peerless corpse was faintly discernible within, it stirred up strands of unparalleled ferocious aura and attacked the golden-robed Grand Luo. Arg! He screamed as his protective divine light exploded. This was the ferocious aura of the Kuan Peng corpse. All the bones in his body were broken, and he was covered in blood. His body was also covered in cracks, and was about to disintegrate. He was terrified and incredulous. What is that? Whose corpse is that? Is it a primogenitor? Su Yan descended from the sky, wearing the best battle suit. His aura could devour rivers and mountains. His hair was disheveled as terrifying waves flowed from his body. Behind him, a boundless ocean rose as a peerless ferocious beast charged out. Kuan Peng, the golden-robed Grand Luo, cried out in despair, "You're the young Devil King!" This attack was too domineering. Taking advantage of the fact that the golden-robed Grand Luo's battle power was greatly reduced and could not gather battle power in a short period of time, the power of the Kuan Peng struck down, and the golden-robed Grand Luo's body was split into 2. Young Devil King! The golden-robed Grand Luo screamed in panic. This was a ferocious scum with monstrous might. Even the heavenly Grandmaster Young Master was killed by him, and he even killed a few Supreme Beings' sons. He had many tricks up his sleeves. His exploded body shone as his upper body rose from the ground in an attempt to escape. Rip! All of a sudden, a peerless radiance bloomed as a great halberd hidden in the void suddenly attacked. Its snow-white radiance was monstrous, and its sharpness shocked the world. Even time and space were split apart, and it was extremely ferocious. Pft! A head flew into the sky. The golden-robed Grand Luo's head was cut off. His blood-stained head shone with despair and humiliation. He was a Grand Luo expert, and yet he was dismembered. It was a great humiliation. Boom! The Baotsai's great claws swung up, and with the power of the ancestral dragon, the entire blood-stained head collapsed as flesh and blood splattered everywhere. One had to say that it was quite tragic. I won't forgive you. The golden-robed Grand Luo's primordial spirit left his body and soared towards the peak of the firmament, fleeing frantically. If he did not leave now, his primordial spirit might be killed. Unfortunately, the golden-robed Grand Luo was overthinking. The momentum of heaven and earth was activated, and the world fell into a sealed state. No matter how strong his primordial spirit was, he could not break the supreme pattern. Give me your life. Su Yan's forehead surged with a terrifying soul flame. In an instant, he attacked. golden light filled the sky, and thousands of rays of light shone. Stepping on the space-time Tao platform, he charged towards the Grand Luo's primordial spirit. "I hate you," the golden-robed Grand Luo's primordial spirit trembled. The space-time Tao platform was extremely powerful, and suppressed the power of his primordial spirit. Although Su Yan's primordial spirit was not a Grand Luo, he released the Mother Sutra of Heaven and Earth, and his Yang Qi was at its peak, shocking the universe and starry skies. Boom! Su Yan's primordial spirit punched forward. This was the ultimate power, and the Grand Luo's primordial spirit was torn apart. Arg! The Grand Luo's primordial spirit roared. At the moment of its explosion, it used everything to form a world-shaking power. The rules and order in the sky bloomed, and suppressed Su Yan's primordial spirit. Su Yan suffered a great loss. His primordial spirit dimmed, and was about to fall. He was truly shocked. Similarly, the Sun Mother Sutra was also world-shaking. It blocked off the Grand Luo's primordial spirit's large-scale attack, ensuring that his primordial spirit was not severely injured. "We've killed a Grand Luo," Baokai panted heavily. He was equally shocked. The battle had progressed too quickly, but at the same time, they had used everything they had and heavily injured him with the Kunpeng's corpse. Only then did Su Yan succeed in killing him. Otherwise, without the Kunpeng's corpse, Su Yan reckoned that he could only survive against a Grand Luo with his battle armor and Milky Way gourd. However, it was impossible for him to kill them. Su Yan was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. He was slightly injured. He was very decisive as he quickly cleaned up the battlefield and left. He did not light the incense to summon the Yen Emperor as he was worried that it would cause too strong of an energy fluctuation. Less than half an incense's time after they left, a group of people arrived one after another. Their aura was very strong, and their faces were gloomy. There was a huge battle here. But because of the intense energy ripples caused by the battle between the pinnacle of the underworld, they were unable to find out what happened. Su Yan and Baokai had already escaped far away from this area. He quickly approached the terrain. This continent was not small. There were volcanoes everywhere, and danger lurked in every corner. Gradually, the scene in front of him changed drastically. The majestic mountain range was golden and vast. It was like a golden city at the end of the horizon. "It's here." Su Yan was very sure that the reincarnation herb was planted here. Heaven Yang sect. This is an immortal sect of the immortal heavenly domain. But it has declined. Who would have thought that it would become the territory of the underworld? Baokai saw the words engraved on the mountain gate. There was a strong aura of time. This was once a great sect. Sadly, the Heaven Yang sect did not live up to its name. What was ridiculous was that there was no news about it. For a great sect that was once at its peak, it was quite sad. The mountain gate of the Heaven Yang sect was grand and majestic. There was also a dazzling divine light that was blinding to the eyes. It was hard to see what was real and what was fake. Su Yan used the Heaven Evasion Eye to see. He originally thought that he would need to use the Heaven Opening writing brush. But Su Yan did not expect that he would be able to see what was real and what was fake. To be exact, the mountain gate of the Heaven Yang sect was already an empty shell. The divine energy inside had dried up. The huge mountain gate was lifeless and decayed beyond recognition. No matter what, it is still a great sect. How can it decline to such a level? This is the core continent of the immortal heavenly domain. There are shocking dragon veins underground that are spewing out immortal substances. Su Yan was shocked. The scene in front of him made him extremely surprised. It did not make sense. Even if the underworld destroyed the Heaven Yang sect, there was no need to destroy such a great place, right? Su Yan, a giant orthodoxy like the Heaven Yang sect, was destroyed just like that. Moreover, there was no news about it. I guess some immortal orthodoxies have also been killed, Baokai said in a low voice, Some primogeniture experts are getting stronger and stronger. In order to pursue strength and progress, they do some crazy things. It is not surprising. Su Yan's heart was heavy. Wasn't the celestial court like this in the past? Some orthodoxies had ancient inheritances. The resources and secret techniques they had were very tempting. What should we do? How do we sneak in? Baokai asked. This was the second lair of the Lord of the Underworld. Who knew how many good things were sealed inside? Su Yan observed for a while, and shook his head with a serious expression. There is no hope. This place is covered by a shocking field. Even if the heaven-opening writing brush can break the seal, the experts inside will notice it. I think we should just fight our way in. Things might change if we delay. Su Yan's hair danced in the wind. His essence, qi, and spirit were exceptionally strong. He was like an overlord that illuminated the world as he rushed towards the mountain gate. Boom! Su Yan waved his fist and smashed the mountain gate. He also let out an earth-shattering roar. I, Su Yan, am here to visit. All the dogs of the underworld, come out and welcome me. Chapter 1647. Get out here, get out here. The rolling sound waves were even more turbulent than the ocean. They swept through the mountain gate that had been blasted open. Deafening explosions and surging energy ripples tore through space and filled the heavens and the earth. They contained indescribable divine might that even destroyed numerous mountains. The Heavenly Yang sect was strong on the outside but weak on the inside. The mountain gate of the ancestral land was severely damaged, and the world was drained of energy. When faced with the roar of a true immortal expert like Su Yan, it was as if the heavens and the earth were falling apart. The rolling sound waves scattered down as if the stars of the universe were crashing onto the ground. They shattered the land and created huge cracks. In short, Su Yan's roar shook the heavens and the earth, and a corner of the Heavenly Yang sect trembled violently. At the same time, the experts who were hibernating inside the Heavenly Yang sect were furious and worried. Who's the one who's locking us down? Boom! A cave collapsed, and black fog billowed and covered the starry sky. An expert with rolling qi rushed out from it. He held a great weapon, and his expression was gloomy as he patrolled the surroundings. Who's the one who's locking us down? Spare our sect's peace. Some people shouted angrily, and their faces were pale. How did the other party know that the underworld had taken over the Heavenly Yang sect? Even in the underworld, only a few people knew about this. However, the other party had named them, and they couldn't help but be cautious. Could it be that they were after the rebirth elixir? In an extremely short period of time, groups of experts rushed out, and the heavens trembled. These were all grand heavenly experts. One after another, they took up positions between the heavens and the earth, waiting for the enemy to strike. Someone had already brought out his great weapon. The ancestral land of the Heavenly Yang sect was of great importance, and the internal affairs couldn't be leaked out. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Baotsai's body trembled. Su Yan had unknowingly shown off. It seemed that there were limited experts here. 6 grand heavenly experts and some true immortal experts. Could it be that there weren't any supremes here? In truth, the 6 grand heavenly experts had their eyes on Su Yan and Baokai. However, they didn't pay much attention to the 2 true immortals. After searching and searching carefully, they couldn't find any other experts. Their faces were gloomy. Could it be that a terrorist leader had come? Was it hiding in the void and not being discovered by them? Su Yan's divine eyes flashed like lightning as he explored the Heavenly Sun sect's lair. The ancestral land was grand and magnificent with many buildings. Because the world energy here was severely exhausted, Su Yan easily sensed a terrifying heat rising from the depths of the ancestral land. Yin-yang life and death formation. He guessed that the destination should be the location of the Yang formation. Then, his guess was correct. He heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally found it. Who is it? Come out. One after another, the golden immortal realm experts of the netherworld shouted coldly. They weren't afraid because the first ancestor of their clan was the most ancient overlord in the world, and they didn't believe that she could act rashly. There were also some who crushed their transmission talismans, allowing them to directly transmit the news of the massive changes that had taken place here back to Hell. Su Yen strode towards the heavenly Yang sect. At the same time, he shouted, "Don't waste your energy. I've already sealed this place. No information can be sent back to Hell." "It's you." All of a sudden, a black-robed old man glared at Su Yen with ghastly eyes. He pointed at him and said angrily, "You're the one who blasted open the mountain gate and spoke such insolent words." "That's me." Su Yen looked up to the sky and laughed. He stood tall between heaven and earth as his eyes stared unblinkingly at the source. He could feel that the temperature within was getting hotter and hotter. Could it be that the elixir of reincarnation was really about to mature at this juncture? "Bastard, you're the one who's responsible. Get the hell out of here." The 6 golden immortal realm experts almost went crazy, and their eyes turned red. What kind of cosmic joke was this? 2 true immortals had come here to lock them up. The 6 of them were entrenched here with vast divine might. Yet, a true immortal had come to lock them up? If this spread out, they would become a laughing stock. Su Yen definitely had someone backing him up. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the guts to do this. However, no one stepped out after shouting. The 6 golden immortal realm experts' faces fell. This was outrageous. Were they really the only 2 true immortals? Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying radiance bloomed from the depths of the heavenly Yang sect. It was dazzling and resplendent, accompanied by a majestic heavenly tune. This was an ultimate Tao tune that rumbled down and shook the entire ancestral land. In a short period of time, the heavenly Yang sect's ancestral land, that was originally drained of energy, trembled. Visible to the naked eye, the vast territory was reduced to a wasteland. Mountains collapsed one after another, and even the sky darkened. Moreover, the suns began to dim. This was the manifestation of the complete extinguishment of the sun's essence. "Oh my God!" The Baokai trembled. It saw a medicine that was very blurry. It was seizing the essence of heaven and earth. Su Yen gasped. This ultimate treasure medicine was too heaven-defying. The ancestral land of the immortal sect's orthodoxy was drained, and its energy was greatly reduced. This was seizing the fortune of heaven and earth to cultivate the elixir of reincarnation. Could it be that the underworld's purpose of attacking the heavenly Yang sect was to cultivate the elixir of reincarnation? This was the truth. Not only them, but the golden immortal realm experts of the underworld were also shocked. Their knowledge of ultimate treasure medicine was limited, and they were both surprised and delighted by this scene. "Seems like we came at the right time. The elixir of reincarnation is really about to mature." Su Yen was overwhelmed with emotions. His eyes stared at the source without blinking. It was like a natural immortal furnace that was burning, helping the elixir of reincarnation to seize the essence of heaven and earth and accelerate its maturation. He saw it very clearly. The eye of heaven evasion had seen the specific scene. A unique immortal furnace formed by the intersection of supreme formation marks. This was one of the core formation eyes of the yin-yang life and death formation. "There are people inside?" Su Yen was a little surprised. He saw corpses everywhere in the Yang formation. Many people had died and there were skeletons everywhere. However, each of the skeletons was relatively strong. No one knew how many years they had been dried up, but the bones were still shining with golden radiance. They were definitely the bones of experts. Some of the bones were even more terrifying as they had supreme Tao marks intertwining. This was definitely the death of a supreme expert. Could these be the past experts of the heavenly Yang sect? Even the sect master of the sect had died inside. However, this was not important. Su Yen saw a body that was chained by black divine chains. Chains forged from the essence of the Mother. Su Yen sucked in a breath of cold air. A black chain, which was very thick, flashed with the supreme order of laws, and locked up an old man who was already skinny as a bag of bones. This old man seemed to be still alive. His battle clothes were torn and his body was riddled with holes. Although he was an old man, his body was rather tall and sturdy. There were many cracks on his bronze skin, indicating that his injuries were severe. Moreover, the black chains forged from the essence had penetrated his flesh shell and bound him in the void. Visible to the naked eye, strands of golden divine radiance flowed out of the old man's head. Each strand of divine radiance contained a terrifying life force as they entered the elixir of reincarnation. Could this be the ancestor expert of the Heavenly Yang sect? To be imprisoned here by the Lord of the Underworld, it would truly be a tragedy. What were they doing? Not only were they seizing the fortune of heaven and earth, but they were also using their lives to replenish the elixir of reincarnation. One had to admit that their methods were quite vicious. All of the experts of the Heavenly Yang sect had become great nourishment for the elixir of reincarnation. It should be just the two of them. Kill them, an underworld expert shouted coldly. No matter who this strange combination brought, they must be eliminated. Old man, I think you should run away. Otherwise, when the ancestor experts come back, you won't even be enough to kill. Baokai instantly took out a golden incense stick. He blew on it and lit it up. The incense stick was very unique. When it burned, no incense flames were emitted. Only strands of unique airflow penetrated the vast space and started spreading toward the outer realm. Oh no, this is the incense flame formed from the blood of a paragon. The Grand Luo of Hell's expression changed drastically. He immediately rushed forward. He had to stop them. Otherwise, if the elixir of reincarnation was damaged, the consequences would be unimaginable. They would all be buried with it. The Master of Hell had spent an entire universe epoch to cultivate the elixir of reincarnation. In fact, time had accelerated a lot. If the elixir of reincarnation was allowed to grow on its own, it would be an ultimate treasure that could only be cultivated after a long period of time. Boom! The aura of a Grand Luo expert was released. The entire starry sky turned gloomy as the terrifying aura surged toward Tai Baokai. Old man, I don't care how arrogant you are. I'll see how you die. Baokai spoke ferociously. The Flame Emperor was definitely near the major regions of hell. He believed that this super-wanted criminal would be here soon. What were Grand Luo experts before the Flame Emperor? One of the underworld's Grand Luo's expression turned ugly. The incense stick's time was rather strange. A terrifying paragon aura was faintly being born between heaven and earth. The Grand Luo of Hell's scalp was about to explode. He could vaguely see billions of blazing flames being born. A terrifying figure stood in the middle. It was as if the master of his life had descended upon the world. Pfft, he was trembling. The chi and blood in his body were in a mess, and he felt dizzy. He was also terrified. This paragon expert was going to follow the trail of the incense stick's time and descend upon the Heavenly Yang sect. Stop him! 6 Grand Luo rushed forward together. They took out a series of treasures and unleashed their auras. The 6 Grand Luo joined forces. Their auras were peerlessly terrifying. The light of their innate skills blossomed, and the great killing weapons were resurrected. The ancestral grounds of the Heavenly Yang sect trembled violently. Reincarnation power. The 6 experts immediately activated their strongest trump card. Their identities and statuses in the underworld were not to be underestimated. To be precise, they were the disciples and grand disciples of the underworld's children. The incense stick that was about to burn out was rumbling. It seemed like it was about to be shot down. However, the more the incense stick burned, the more shocking the rules and order were. In the end, the entire sky trembled. Soon, countless cracks appeared. Even the ground was torn apart. The incense is burning urgently. The great flame emperor has descended upon the world, Baokai howled. He could already see a shocking figure descending upon the lower realm. He stood above billions of divine flames and emanated a vast divine might. It was terrifying beyond compare. Bam, 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 the 6 Grand Luos screamed as they were sent flying. Their bodies trembled. No matter how strong they were, they began to tremble in the face of the Flame Emperor who had descended from the lower realm. No! One of the underworld's Grand Luo roared furiously. Because his body was about to betray his will, he wanted to kneel down and worship the Flame Emperor. An invincible paragon. Some of the underworld's Grand Luo's expression changed drastically. This must be an invincible paragon expert below the primogenitor level. Otherwise, he would not be able to suppress 6 Grand Luo experts in an instant. Such an existence was about to evolve supreme order and laws. Chapter 1648. Billions of divine flames swept across the sky, burning the heavens. A shocking figure descended with the aura of a supreme being. It was as though the ruler of heaven and earth had descended upon the mortal realm, bringing with him an immense divine aura. Yen Emperor, the great heavenly of the underworld, were terrified. Why was this person here? If it was an ordinary supreme being expert, they wouldn't be bothered as long as it wasn't a primogenitor. However, it was different for someone like Yen Emperor. She was a wanted criminal, a peerless expert whose name shook the entire undying heavenly domain. She could be said to be an invincible existence below the primogenitor. She controlled billions of divine flames and dominated the world. What about the invincible primogenitor? She was so strong that even the primogenitor experts couldn't kill her. She could be said to be an unbelievably strong existence that could dominate the world. The primogenitor was already a high and mighty giant. One could only imagine how terrifying Yen Emperor was. Moreover, this person was still young and had great hopes of stepping into the primogenitor level in the future. A woman? Baokai gasped. All along, Yen Emperor was a man. He didn't expect her to be a peerless beauty. If this news were to spread out, it would definitely shake the world. Although he couldn't see her exact formation, he could tell that she was a peerless beauty. Her slender figure was surrounded by billions of flames. Even her eyes were shooting out golden flames, giving birth to terrifying laws of order that made the heavens and earth tremble. The 6 great heavenly of the underworld couldn't withstand Yen Emperor's divine aura at all. Their bodies were trembling. So what if they were great heavenly? They were like mice in front of a cat. They roared as they resisted Yen Emperor's divine aura. These people weren't weaklings. They were the disciples and grand disciples of the Lord of Underworld. Each of them had a great background. Perhaps one of them could become a supreme being in the future. Supreme being, Yen Emperor! Su Yen clenched his fists in excitement. Although he had never seen her before, the reputation of this wanted criminal was too great. In fact, Yen Emperor's reputation was even more shocking than some of the primogenitors. Being able to lead the former members of the Celestial Court in the undying heavenly domain until now was enough to prove Yen Emperor's strength. She was a heroine who didn't lose out to men. Of course, the Flaming Emperor was not the only wanted criminal in the Celestial Court. There were 2 other Supreme Being experts who rarely appeared in public. Unfortunately, the Celestial Court was having a hard time surviving in the immortal heavenly domain. With limited resources, it was hard for them to produce primogenitor realm experts. Otherwise, the Celestial Court would be able to establish a sect in the immortal heavenly domain and rebuild the immortal sects. Only orthodoxies with primogenitors could be considered prosperous immortal orthodoxies. Underworld, Heavenly Yang sect, when the Flame Emperor arrived, she was somewhat surprised. This incense stick was refined with her life's supreme blood. As long as it was not too far away, she would be able to reach her destination in a short time. However, the creature that lit this incense looked extremely unfamiliar. However, none of that mattered anymore. She knew about the Heaven Sun sect, and she had even met the founder of the Heaven Sun sect before. The Heaven Sun sect used to have some ties with the Celestial Court, and the founder of the Heaven Sun sect was also a rising star in the Emperor Road. This person was somewhat similar to the founder of the Sword sect. However, the founder of the Heaven Sun sect, the Heaven Sun Old Man, was much more famous than the founder of the Sword sect. However, why was the Heaven Sun sect occupied by the underworld? When the Flame Emperor's gaze landed on a stalk of medicine that was emitting a divine light, she was instantly shocked. Reincarnation medicine, her face immediately turned pale. What's going on? The incense stick was lit and she was summoned here. She was brought to the reincarnation medicine, who was so powerful to dig out the reincarnation medicine directly. The Flame Emperor did not know whether to laugh or cry. Even the founder of the underworld had been tricked by the master of the underworld. However, it could be said that she was too smart for her own good. In this world, there would always be a new talent who could break the yin-yang life and death formation. In the next moment, the Flame Emperor's gaze landed on Su Yan, and black lines seemed to appear on her snow-white forehead. Your gaze seems a little unfriendly. Su Yan scratched his head. What's going on? Does he have a grudge against the Flame Emperor? Trying to run? The Flame Emperor retracted her gaze, and her gaze landed on a grand heavenly of the underworld who was fleeing in a hurry. Her soft sentence was like a law, and a sea of fire filled the sky. It was as if she wanted to burn down the universe and destroy the grand heavenly road. Arg! The space-time collapsed. The grand heavenly of the underworld was struck by lightning, and the supreme flames were devouring his body. The grand heavenly of the underworld howled in pain. His entire body was charred black, and the vigorous aura in his body was rapidly drying up. He said in a trembling voice, "Hurry up and use your trump cards to stop her." The Flame Emperor's gaze turned cold. Her jade-like hand suddenly rose, and it was as if an immemorial immortal phoenix had awakened. She stretched out a huge hand that covered the sky. Accompanied by billions of blazing flames, she wanted to suppress the 6 grand heavenly immortals directly. How domineering was this? While the Supreme was powerful, the grand heavenly immortals were not weak either. However, the Flame Emperor was peerlessly domineering, and a heroine among women. She wanted to suppress 6 grand heavenly experts of the underworld with a single hand. Boom! All of a sudden, the space-time of the heavenly Yang sect changed. Almost instantly, darkness covered the sky and fog billowed. It was as if a boundless purgatory had appeared at the peak of the universe. The moment it fell, the supreme order bloomed, and the terrifying power of reincarnation was awakening. This was a relatively majestic object, and it was like the most complicated roulette in the world. When it fell, it suppressed the entire heavenly Yang sect. Samsara wheel of life and death. Su Yan's eyes widened. This was the strongest treasure of the underworld, and it contained the Tao of reincarnation. It was a super treasure of the underworld, and it was used to suppress the fate of the underworld. The Samsara wheel of life and death was once used against the prehistoric Big Brother. Of course, this was not the complete Samsara wheel of life and death. Su Yan did not expect that there were 2 Samsara wheels of life and death, and one of them was in the heavenly Yang sect, guarding the medicine of reincarnation. Suppress her. The 6 grand heavenly experts of the underworld joined forces, and with the Samsara wheel of life and death, they suppressed the Flame Emperor. Boom! The Flame Emperor's jade-like palm soared into the sky, and the sky was filled with raging flames. This palm was boundless, and it released layers after layers of palm imprint. In a short period of time, billions of layers of palm imprints were released, and they fused into one, forming a majestic flaming palm, and struck towards the Samsara wheel of life and death. It was an extremely shocking scene, and the legendary Samsara wheel of life and death trembled from the impact. The 6 grand heavenly realm experts were shocked. as expected of an invincible supreme expert. She was probably only half a step away from the primogenitor realm, and she would soon become a legendary expert. Suppress! The 6 grand heavenly realm experts roared, and as if they had gone mad, they spat out their life essence blood, spraying it on the roulette of the samsara wheel of life and death. They had really gone mad, and their life essence leaked out, causing their blood to dry up. However, they did not care about the loss now. Once the Lord of the Underworld successfully consumes the medicine of reincarnation, it would be a huge matter, and it would be of great help to the changes that were about to happen in the future. It was an ultimate treasure medicine, and after a long time, there were only a few of them in the undying heavenly domain. Even if one was lucky enough to encounter a secret one, it would be extremely limited. Boom! 6 rays of light from the essence blood landed on the samsara wheel of life and death. Although this was only a part of the ultimate treasure of the underworld, this ultimate treasure was already terrifying enough to shock the world, and the aura it emitted was much stronger. Even the sky exploded, and a majestic figure appeared. It was blurry and unreal, but it was enough to shock the world. He was holding the roulette, and his expression was as cold as the ruler of hell, controlling the life and death of millions of people. The Lord of the Underworld! The Yen Emperor's face sank. This was only one of his incarnations. Although it was just one of his incarnations, this old monster was too strong. Back then, he dared to join forces with the Xian people to kill the old ancestor, which showed how strong he was. She had not stepped into the world of cultivation, but the Lord of the Underworld was already an unparalleled giant. It was imaginable how much pressure the Yen Emperor was facing now. Su Yen transmitted his voice. He had the 9 continents' heavenly cauldrons, and if the Yen Emperor wielded them, he would definitely be able to knock the samsara wheel away. No matter what, he had to take the reincarnation medicine away first. If there was no other way, he could hide in the Emperor Road with the reincarnation medicine. He did not believe that the Lord of the Underworld could break through the Emperor Road. Anyway, he had to take the reincarnation medicine away. He had already taken the initiative, and if he failed, he would regret it for life. There's no time. The Yen Emperor transmitted his voice. The incarnation of the Lord of the Underworld is here, and he must have sensed the changes of the reincarnation medicine. Go and get the reincarnation medicine immediately. Su Yan's face darkened, and he felt that the task was too important. He was a little out of breath, and the Yen Emperor thought too highly of him. The place where the reincarnation medicine grew must have a backup plan left behind by the Lord of the Underworld. Go quickly, you only have an incense stick's worth of time. The Yen Emperor urged, if you can't complete the task, you will be hung up and beaten for 3 days. Su Yen was dumbfounded as he recalled the time when he was hung up and beaten by the Yen Emperor. Heroines are not to be trifled with, they are too cruel. Su Yen was so scared that he bumped into old Gao and pulled Baokai along. An incense stick's worth of time was too short. Let's do it. Su Yen gritted his teeth. For the reincarnation medicine, for the prehistoric Big Brother, he was willing to give up everything to get the reincarnation medicine. The Yen Emperor was very powerful, and he was able to withstand the suppression of the life and death reincarnation disc with his own strength. Otherwise, without the Yen Emperor, the ancestral ground of the Heavenly Yang sect would have been suppressed by the supreme treasure, and no one would be able to get close to the place where the reincarnation medicine grew. Oh right, if the Heavenly Yang old man is still alive, he can be trusted. Just as Su Yen and Baokai were rushing towards the place where the reincarnation medicine grew, the Yen Emperor transmitted his voice over. Su Yen was shocked. The Heavenly Yang old man should be the sacrifice to speed up the growth of the reincarnation medicine. It seemed like this person was really the ancestor expert of the Heavenly Yang sect. Yen Emperor, stop dreaming. You can't take the reincarnation medicine away. The 6 grand heavenly experts of the underworld shouted angrily, and you have to bear the brunt of the annihilation of your entire sect. No one can bear the wrath of the Lord of the Underworld. Another grand heavenly stood up and said angrily, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and suppress those 2 small fries for me. Crush them to death." The Yen Emperor's face turned cold. He raised his jade-like hand and swept it towards the dozen or so true immortal experts. These were a dozen or so peak true immortals. Once they joined forces, it was no small matter. Even a grand heavenly expert would find it difficult to suppress them in a short period of time. However, the life and death reincarnation disc was quite powerful, and it blocked the Yen Emperor's movement. "We can only rely on you now." The Yen Emperor's heart was heavy. Now that things had come to this, he had to give it his all. As for the grand heavenly experts of the underworld, they thought that 13 peak true immortals would not be able to suppress 2 true immortals. Even if he, the young Devil King, returned from the Emperor Road, he would not be able to suppress the situation. Chapter 1649. In the ancestral grounds of the Heavenly Yang sect, the battle raged on. The samsara wheel of life and death bore down on the entire ancestral ground. 6 grand heavenly immortals of hell consumed their life essence to resonate with the samsara wheel, activating the energy incarnation of the Lord of Hell. In an instant, an unparalleled pressure descended upon the world, threatening to destroy the world. The strength of the Flame Emperor had exceeded their expectations. Even the strongest treasure of hell couldn't suppress him in a short period of time. ****************************************************************** The grand heavenly immortals of hell bellowed, "Celestial court, you're courting death. Let's see how long you can hold on. Let's see how you're going to withstand the wrath of the Lord of Hell. You're trying to annihilate your entire race." They were furious. The situation was already very serious. Although the elixir of reincarnation was fine, their destination had been exposed. The consequences were unimaginable. The heavenly Yang state underwent a huge change. The battle raged on. The aura of the samsara wheel of life and death had already shaken the world. The first to react was naturally the Lord of Hell. The battle here was earth-shattering. Even the heavens were crying blood. Horrifying shockwaves surged out and continued to spread, shaking the entire undying heavenly domain. A world-ending battle. Someone said in a trembling voice. Someone said with a trembling voice. This was the most terrifying battle in the undying heavenly domain since a million years of peace. Countless terrifying figures clashed together, unleashing terrifying energy waves that destroyed the entire starry sea. Even a corner of the cosmos was shattered. Even the great Tao was wailing. The core of the undying heavenly domain seemed to be resonating with the 3,000 great continents. The source of the battle was the great battle in the legends. Figures that were as tall as the heavens and earth were unleashing unparalleled killing intent. The ancestral courts of many immortal sects issued warnings one after another. The orthodoxies sealed their mountain gates to prevent the peak battle from affecting the foundation of their race. "Let's go!" The living beings in the distant continents were terrified. Someone shouted, "So many horrifying beings have appeared. They're not letting us live." The entire world trembled. Old monsters that had been in seclusion for a long time had appeared one after another. Furthermore, they were fighting for supremacy. One could imagine how great the impact was. Once the battle for supremacy of the undying heavenly domain was involved, it could be said that the entire undying heavenly domain was in chaos. Because of the expansion of the war, terrifying killing intent swept across the entire universe like an apocalyptic flood. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox, Roar. Inside the violently shaking hell, the Lord of Hell was enraged. He was like an ancient demon that had broken through the reincarnation purgatory, emitting a heaven-devouring anger. His pair of extremely cold eyes had already noticed the change in the heavenly Yang sect. Who was it that saw through my domain? The wondrous heaven sect's primogenitor was shocked and furious. He had used the yin-yang life and death formation to suppress the reincarnation medicine and set up a heaven-shocking domain layout above it. However, from the start of the great battle until now, not much time had passed, yet someone had already reached their destination. This truly left him shocked. Even the powerful primogenitor was moved, his face quickly becoming cold, immediately thinking of something. Could it be the ancestor of the odd heaven sect said coldly, "The heaven-opening writing brush has appeared." Other than the heaven-opening writing brush, who else can lock onto the position of the yang formation in a short time? He should be an expert from the celestial court. But the celestial court, is no longer a concern. They dared to interfere. Are they not afraid of being exterminated? As the primogenitor expert who founded the wondrous heaven sect, he had his own pride and was quite confident in his attainments in the mystic arts. However, since the other party had broken through his domain in such a short time, it was most likely related to the most powerful treasure in the mystic arts domain, the heaven-opening writing brush. The reincarnation medicine is not in hell. Some primogenitor experts roared. They had all been tricked, and the Lord of Hell was furious, causing Hell's domain to become unstable. They had seen through some of the truth. The reincarnation medicine that grew in Hell was just an afterimage. A series of big shots who occupied the outer heavens were not too surprised. Instead, they were excited. Judging from the Lord of Hell's anger, there was a big problem with his backup plan. In that case, there was no need for them to waste time searching, because the Lord of Hell could lead them to the source. Reincarnation medicine. Many people had serious expressions. Since they had chosen to stay here, they were determined to obtain the reincarnation medicine. The sword sex primogenitor carried the sky hegemon sword on his back and stood in the outer heavens. He muttered, "I saw the wondrous heaven sex primogenitor." Then, who broke his domain? Soon, he thought of the heaven-opening writing brush. At their level of cultivation, there were very few things in this world that could make them remember. The heaven-opening writing brush that once shook the world was naturally one of their targets. Boom! The Lord of Hell left. His huge figure covered the sky and filled the entire continent of Hell as he headed toward the heavenly yang sect. With the departure of the Lord of Hell, the aura of supremacy that permeated the air of Hell dissipated by a large margin. Some people were hesitating in the dark, wondering if they should take the opportunity to sneak into Hell and destroy the Lord of Hell's lair. For these most terrifying and ancient creatures, their nests were truly eye-catching. Of course, the lair of such people had many backup plans. Even primogenitor experts had to hesitate. Once they made a move, they might die inside. The structure of Hell welcomed a huge change, one after another. Terrifying creatures followed the Lord of Hell. However, what happened next was beyond their expectations. After all, the distance from Hell to Heavenly Yang Prefecture was not far. To them, they could rush to their destination in a short amount of time. However, around Hell's continent, a vast space-time aura bloomed. It was as if rivers of time appeared one after another. The terrifying space-time power caused their movements to become infinitely slow. 9 bends space-time formation. The wondrous heaven sex primogenitor's expression was gloomy. This was an extremely rare formation. It borrowed the power of Hell's continent and space-time universe to set up a 9-layered space-time formation. It was extremely difficult to break through. I smell the aura of the heaven-opening writing brush. This is one of the sect-guarding formations of the ancient celestial court. The grand formation was at the peak of perfection. In a short period of time, it covered the sky and the sun. The chaotic space-time manifested, blinding them and causing them to lose the coordinates of the universe. This was an ancient and grand formation. If one looked at it from afar, they would see that the 9 great continents had sunk into a state of chaos. One could imagine how extraordinary this formation was. Although the primogenitor's aura was berserk, It was impossible to destroy the Nine Toons spacetime formation in a short period of time. This was the most precious treasure of the Flame Emperor's organization. They had once used a portion of the Nine Toons spacetime formation to avoid a great crisis. Now they had used it all to buy some time. Is the war over? Baokai was shocked. The strongest order in the world had been greatly reduced, and its influence on heaven and earth was also greatly reduced. Hearing this, Su Yen said in a deep voice, "For primogenitors, it only takes a short period of time to cross to Tianyang continent. Since the Flame Emperor said that they have an incense sticks time, it means that they have used their ultimate method to slow down the primogenitor's speed. Time is really too limited." Su Yan's mood was somewhat depressed. Now that he was infinitely close to his destination, every minute and every second was extremely precious. He had to grasp this heaven-sent opportunity. Kill them, don't let them near the place where the reincarnation medicine grows. The 13 true immortals charged forward. They were the elites of hell and had great hopes of reaching the grand heavenly realm. Ordinary experts could not be compared to them. Moreover, they had great killing weapons. "A few Doxkin plasters are following us." Baotsai's eyes turned cold as he said, "Get rid of them first." Although the 13 peak true immortals were strong, they were nothing in the eyes of the two groups that had just killed a grand heavenly immortal. The 13 true immortals of hell were infinitely close to Su Yen. Someone sneered, "Why are you running so fast? Trash from the celestial court, do you only know how to run?" "Hee, I've been cultivating for 100,000 years, and I've slain quite a number of experts from the Flame Emperor organization. How dare you two true immortals come here to join in the fun? I think there's no one else in the heavenly court that can do it." The 13 experts moved quickly, as if they were sure that they could defeat Su Yen. At the same time, they did not care. Even if they really reached their destination first, they would not be able to open the place where the reincarnation medicine grew. "No matter how weak the celestial court is, we can still kill Yin Juanhao and force the reincarnation body away. You bunch of clowns, who do you think you are?" Baokai turned his head and looked at the 13 peak true immortals from the corner of his eyes. The 13 true immortals' faces turned cold instantly. Baotsai's words had angered them, and they all showed a cruel expression. "Trash from the celestial court, hand over your lives." A peak true immortal of hell in silver armor roared at the sky. He held a heavenly halberd and his aura was extremely strong. It swept across all directions and formed a powerful energy vortex. This was an outstanding peak true immortal of hell. To be precise, he was heavily groomed and had a chance to step into the grand heavenly immortal road in the future. He slaughtered his way over, activating a secret technique. His speed was fast to the extreme, as if he was a demonic god that tore apart the mortal world. His flesh and silver battle armor merged, forming a surging black mist that filled the sea of stars. Without a doubt, this person was extremely close to the grand heavenly immortal realm. He was an expert that dominated a region in the true immortal realm. A terrifying figure descended from the sky, waving the heavenly halberd with a heavy and ferocious aura. Boom! The void exploded. The heavenly halberd soared through the sky, reaching thousands of feet. It was quite earth-shattering. Su Yan's black hair draped over his shoulders as he wielded the heavenly halberd. His eyes were cold as he looked at the heavenly halberd that was slashing towards him. Su Yan moved, holding the heavenly halberd tightly in his hand. It was too fast and extremely terrifying. Even the true immortals of hell couldn't keep up with the trajectory of the heavenly halberd. Boom! In an instant, space-time collapsed. No one knew what had happened. Next, they saw the heavenly halberd descending from the sky being directly split into two. It was like a bolt of lightning that could destroy the world. It tore the entire sky apart and a figure trembled violently. Then, blood spurted out. The 12 true immortals of hell were stunned. They couldn't believe what they had seen. Even the 6 grand heavenly experts who wielded the samsara disc thought that this was an illusion. They must have seen wrongly. He was one of the most outstanding true immortal realm experts in the Netherworld Palace, yet now, his weapon had been destroyed by a single strike from Su Yen. Moreover, a large crack had appeared on his body, and dense blood was pouring out. Ingjie, the most outstanding true immortal of hell, who had hopes of ascending the grand heavenly road, was heavily injured with a single strike. "Come back quickly!" The grand heavenly experts of hell who were watching the battle here suddenly thought of something. They let out a deafening roar and summoned the 12 peak true immortals back immediately. They had great potential. It was not worth it to die like this. Since the other party could kill a peak true immortal with a single strike, one could only imagine how wild and domineering his combat strength was. "Roar!" Su Yen roared at the sky. His hair danced in the wind, and his killing intent surged. The body of the heavily injured true immortal of hell was directly shattered by Su Yan's roar. Blood filled the sky, and it was extremely tragic. The 12 peak true immortals were also trembling. The chi and blood in their bodies churned, and their vision turned black. They were about to fall to the ground. "Who are you?" The 12 true immortals were terrified. Who was this person? This was too crazy. Even the young devil king of Emperor Road wasn't this powerful, was he? Chapter 1650. Su Yen was incredibly valiant. Before the Emperor Road's top 100 tournament had even begun, he had already ended the Heavenly Grandmaster's life and become one of the top experts in the Emperor Road. However, after that, Su Yen lay low for 2 whole years. His strength soared, and he was almost at the peak of the 6th heaven of the true immortal realm. Although he had yet to fully fuse with his constitution treasure, he was still terrifying and intimidating now. He was even more shocking than before. With a loud roar, the world shook, and the aura of an expert surged out. So what if there were 12 peak true immortals? They seemed weak before Su Yen. They were like a bunch of scarecrows, trembling in fear. Their legs could not even stand properly. "Kill!" Su Yan's body shot through the void toward the 12 peak true immortals of the underworld. He had to get rid of these dogskin plasters quickly before he could focus on digging out the reincarnation pill. The young devil king is indeed powerful, but with the 12 of us working together, can't we suppress him? Some true immortals of the underworld roared in anger. They could tell that Su Yen was looking down on them. He did not think much of the 12 peak true immortals. They were the most outstanding true immortals of the underworld. They were the core seeds who had great hopes of breaking through the Daluo barrier. Boom! The area shook violently. A large number of secret treasures emerged, and great capacities were unleashed one after another. This group of people had used all their trump cards. They stood in their strongest states and attacked Su Yen with all their might. Roar! A deep roar pierced through the air. In the form of a dragon soaring in the sky, the Baokai charged towards Su Yen, who was in the midst of the enemies. From this moment on, Su Yan's aura skyrocketed. His body resonated with the Baokai. In a short time, his aura skyrocketed. It was as if he was riding an ancestral dragon as he charged forward. His body emanated the radiance of chi and blood that soared into the sky. There were also halberds that shot through the air with peerless sharpness. They cut through the various secret treasures that came crashing down from the sky. The heavenly halberds shone with unparalleled sharpness. Ordinary treasures exploded upon contact. The scene of heaven collapsing and earth splitting, one man and one horse rushing into the heavens and splitting the seas, divine light overflowing into the heavens, slaughtering his way up to the 12 true immortals. Baokai used all his strength to release the power of the ancestral dragon, covering the entire battlefield. It was as if a sky full of true dragons had descended, suppressing the entire battlefield, causing the auras of the 12 true immortals to fall. The next scene was a little horrifying. Su Yan's pores gushed out with Kuan Peng's runes, and almost billions of them burst out. They also formed a domain world that sealed the sky and land, and there was also a huge Kuan Pung that was faintly discernible. An unparalleled great divine ability was released, and a great divine might was released. The terrifying aura that came head-on made the true immortals of the underworld despair. He was actually the young Devil King. This person exuded an extremely terrifying aura that shook the universe. His awe-inspiring majesty exuded an indescribable aura of invincibility, as if he was a god of war from the legends. No, a peak true immortal of the netherworld was in despair. The man and his mount rapidly enlarged in his eyes, like a god of war who had crossed the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The moment the god of war arrived in front of him, his courage was shattered. Boom! The great halberd swept across the sky and slashed forward. This was a scene that was enough to terrify the prodigies of the same generation. A peak true immortal of the netherworld was directly slashed by Su Yen. Blood dyed the sky red, and a destructive storm surged. Roar! Baokai roared, and Su Yan's blood gushed into the sky. Their auras kept mixing, and finally formed a majestic energy domain that swept across the entire battlefield and suppressed it. It surged toward the 11 peak true immortals of the netherworld in an overwhelming manner. The auras of the young Devil King and Tai Baokai, who stood at the highest level, merged. Who could stand against them? The enemies trembled. They had already lost their faith and fighting spirit. The peak true immortals were killed one after another. No one could stand up to him, and no one could withstand a single strike from Su Yen. Young Devil King, the experts of the netherworld howled. Their eyes were bloodshot, and the hearts of the grand heavenly immortals were about to explode. This was because this batch of peak true immortals were their proudest disciples. Yet they were all dead now. This was a huge area, to the extent where this was a complete suppression sweeping through everything. No one could resist. Their hearts were bleeding. At least 1 or 2 grand heavenly immortals would emerge from this batch of people in the future. Now they were all killed before their time. They died tragically in front of a man and his mount. There were also some grand heavenly immortals of the netherworld who had a gloomy expression. He was able to keep his composure and did not say anything. He felt that if this lad was not eliminated, he would grow to be even more dangerous and terrifying than the current Yen Emperor. Could it be another Azure Dragon of the Celestial Court? A grand heavenly immortal from the netherworld growled, "Perhaps he's even more terrifying than the Azure Dragon." Back then, the Azure Dragon of the Celestial Court almost penetrated the extreme realm of Dao and stepped into the ranks of Daozu. Fortunately, he was killed in advance. There was no doubt about Su Yan's strength. He was even more shocking than the strongest wanted criminal of the Celestial Court, the Azure Dragon War God. He possessed peak combat strength that was unrivaled in his generation. He was at the 6th firmament of the true immortal realm and could wipe out all his enemies. Even without the help of Tai Baokai, he could still do it. Unfortunately, the 6 grand heavenly immortals could not spare any effort to suppress Su Yen. The battle between them and the Yen Emperor had entered a stalemate. No one could break the stalemate in a short period of time. This brat is actually so strong. If it wasn't for what happened back then, his growth would be even more terrifying. He might have already become a primogeniture-level existence. The Yen Emperor's emotions were complicated. Although Su Yan's cultivation realm wasn't high, his talent was truly outstanding. His foundation was too domineering. This was the shocking foundation of a hidden dragon. Once he received the opportunity and baptism, he would definitely soar into the sky in the future. Boom. In the end, Su Yen swung his fist. It was so domineering that all matter on the battlefield collapsed. Only a fist that was incomparably huge and revealed a terrifying scripture order. It blasted forward. All the enemies in the sky fell, and all the anomalies were destroyed. This fist announced the end of the battle. The 13 true immortals could not hold on for more than 10 breaths and were completely annihilated. Bao Lai the Baokai let out an earth-shattering roar. It swallowed fiercely and collected the wealth of the fallen experts. In the next moment, it charged into the depths of the Heavenly Yang sect. No matter how strong or heaven-defying they can't break the layout of the place where the reincarnation elixir grows. The 6 grand heavenly immortals' faces were gloomy. They also understood the current layout of the underworld. They did not believe that the 9 bends spacetime formation could defend for long. Once a group of primogeniture experts arrived, whether it was the Yen Emperor or the young Devil King, they would be nothing but ashes. Whoosh whoosh, the Baokai charged all the way. Along the way, dust billowed and the void shattered. It charged savagely. Its 4 huge claws trampled on the ground, producing thunderous sounds. Its charging speed was too fast. In a short period of time, it had charged into the depths of the Heavenly Yang sect. As they approached the source, a blazing aura surged towards them, as if a million volcanoes were erupting at the same time. Su Yan's mouth was dry. They were already close to their destination. In front of them was a vast field. It was a huge formation field. It had even evolved into a material object. A huge furnace had died. It spewed out flames and absorbed the remaining energy essence of the Heavenly Yang sect. This was the root cause of the Heavenly Yang sect's decline. It was also emitting a tragic aura. In the huge furnace there were skeletons and broken pieces of objects everywhere. This place had become the burial ground of the experts of the Heavenly Yang sect. At the same time, it was also the place where heaven-defying creations were cultivated. "I see the reincarnation elixir," the Baokai exclaimed. The ancient land was filled with corpses. Hundreds of millions of formation marks were arranged together, forming a land of death. In the middle, a stalk of elixir glowed and spewed out a rain of reincarnation light. It affected the heavens and the earth. Even space-time changed color. Vaguely, a majestic reincarnation gate was manifesting, emitting a terrifying devouring power. What a powerful elixir! Su Yen was shocked. He stood outside, separated by the Yang formation, but he still couldn't control his qi and blood from trembling. His exuberant vitality was about to be devoured by the reincarnation elixir. One could imagine how tragic the experts of the Heavenly Yang sect were back then. They were reduced to sacrifices for a stalk of elixir. Their energy was constantly being absorbed by the reincarnation elixir just to accelerate the cultivation of the reincarnation elixir. It was very difficult for such a heaven-defying object to be born. It was also very difficult to monopolize it. Now that a great disaster had occurred, it was hard to say who the reincarnation elixir would belong to. "Be careful." Bao Cai's expression was solemn. Su Yen had already rushed forward without any hesitation. He took out the heaven-opening writing brush and focused his eyes on the vast Yang formation. Suddenly, the heavens and the earth became complicated. The formation marks were densely packed, but with the help of the heaven-opening writing brush, all the complicated patterns of the Yang formation appeared in his sea of consciousness layer by layer. "Heaven-opening writing brush, break for me." Su Yan's eyes burned with a terrifying power of insight. The heaven-opening writing brush in his hand changed completely. The moment he wrote, the heavens and earth changed, and the entire Yang formation shook. It was like a heavenly writing brush had been projected from outer space. It shook the Yang formation and rearranged billions of formation marks. This was the power to split open the heavens. It was quite unimaginable. After all, this was a shocking formation set up by the wondrous Sky Sect's ancestor. If one wanted to break it, they had to use the heaven-opening writing brush's power. "Break!" Su Yen roared. His eyes widened in anger, and his hair danced wildly. His aura rose to the extreme. The heaven-opening writing brush began to revive. The strokes were terrifying, and each stroke could tear apart the shocking formation. They were rearranged according to the heaven-opening writing brush's order. Boom! The yang formation, which had been operating for a long time, shook violently. Large cracks appeared one after another and began to extend inwards. Success! Baokai was excited. A large hole appeared in the huge furnace. It was as if a corner of the universe had been carved out and a path had been forcefully opened. However, just as the heaven-opening writing brush completely pierced the yang formation and opened the formation, Su Yen was attacked by a terrifying power. It was as if purgatory was pressing down on him, making him suffocate and tremble. Su Yen roared. He put on a silver battle suit and took out the 9 continents cauldrons. But even then, he was blasted flying and coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. It was even to the extent that a crack had appeared on his combat clothes that were made from the finest all-heaven silver essence. The yang formation also changed. Black fog rolled and a huge outline appeared. It was as if the incarnation of the Lord of the Underworld was entrenched in it. It was so terrifying that a corner of the universe was trembling and wailing. Bastard! Su Yan's eyes were red. This was the power of the Lord of the Underworld. How could 2 perfected immortals fight against it? However, Su Yen and Baokai couldn't just sit and wait. The 2 of them worked together to activate the 9 continents cauldrons and attack. However, it was useless. The yang formation's ultimate defense was the power left behind by the Lord of the Underworld. It was mainly for defense. No matter how strong the power of the 9 continents cauldrons was, it was extremely difficult to break it. Su Yen and Baocai's faces were gloomy. Success was so close, but they couldn't break through the defensive means. Boom! It was also at this time that the supreme order of the yang formation's rules intersected. The reincarnation medicine shone again, and the rain of reincarnation light it emitted was much denser. There was even a strange medicinal fragrance that spread out. There was no doubt that he was really going to mature and seize the fortune of heaven and earth. The vast ancestral land of the Heavenly Yang sect was originally a beautiful land and was incomparably prosperous. However, now the vast territory began to collapse, and heaven and earth were reduced to a wasteland. The entire starry sky was infinitely gloomy, and it was about to enter a state of death. Ah! A low roar exploded. The withered old man who was shackled by the black essence in the middle roared towards the sky. Tears of blood flowed out of his eyes. The heavenly young elder was in grief. His messy hair danced in the wind, and the anger in his heart penetrated through his flesh shell, forming a scene of destruction. He was extremely angry, and his aura was fully awakened and released. It had to be said that he was very terrifying. He was still emitting a terrifying soul light. Mother-Son Sutra. Su Yen was shocked. The heavenly young elder cultivated the Mother-Son Sutra. However, it didn't seem to be a complete chapter. But to be able to cultivate to this step with the incomplete Mother-Son Sutra, one could imagine how heaven-defying the talent of the founder of the Heavenly Yang sect was. Brothers erupt.